This is the story of a boy named Dud Campbell, who eventually finds himself caught in a strange situation where all the girls are fighting among themselves to marry him. He takes a deep breath as he stands on the threshold of his departure, reflecting on the bizarre sequence of events that led him here. He realizes that everything is the result of a survival game, Savior Rising, which placed him in a world he now must navigate. The game initially feels familiar and even fun. He clears the game, feeling accomplished, but the next day, he finds himself in the very world he had just played through. It doesn't make sense, and the thought gnaws at him, but there's no use cursing his fate. The game didn't target him, nor did he have any attachment to the protagonist. Yet, here he is inside the body of Dud Campbell, a character with no power and considered a nameless, third-rate extra. The Campbell Viscounty, where he comes from, is a small farming region with a few scattered dungeons across the empire. These details are barely mentioned in Savior Rising's film adaptation, making his position as the son of a Viscount an anomaly. A Viscount's son entering the prestigious Imperial Academy is no small matter, turning the world upside down. As he prepares to leave for the academy, his father looks at him with tears in his eyes. He asks if he is truly leaving. Dud answers happily, confirming that he is. During the farewell, his father earnestly tells him that he is the pride of their family, wishing him well and advising him to take care. His father warns him not to cause any trouble, mentioning the Elfin Academy where all the nobility gather, and advises him not to draw attention to himself. Dud smiles, reassuring his father that he understands and will be careful. After saying goodbye, he checks his status. His strength, agility, endurance, luck, and authority are all F. He has no skills, no proficiencies, and no special gift. He reflects seriously on how even the most experienced players would find such a low starting point ridiculous. Still, he knows what must be done. His mission is to enter the academy and be appointed to a class. If he fails, the academy will fall into chaos due to the violence of the villains. He decides to play it safe, avoid attention, and not make any attempt to raise his family's reputation. He reassures his father, promising not to worry him. As he embarks on this new chapter, he wonders whether the main character, a powerful figure in the game, will handle things on her own. But he quickly comes to understand that the way to survive in this world is to keep a low profile. His life at the academy has just begun, and he is determined to make it through. On the way to the academy, he notices a beautiful girl sitting across from him, drinking tea. He watches her curiously, wondering why she is traveling in the same carriage. As he looks more closely, he recognizes her, Eleanor, feared by all. She is the final enemy in this world, constantly battling the main character in the game. Eventually, only the main character can face her once reaching the peak of development. Suddenly, she turns and looks at him with a serious gaze. She asks why he hasn't responded and if he is curious about something. He quickly reassures her, smiling and commenting that she looks kind and beautiful. She is taken aback by his response and asks if he's heard something bad about her or if they've met before. He, flustered, stutters, saying he only heard that she is a tough person. She dismisses his words, calling him strange. He, smiling, replies that people often say the same about him. He then turns his attention away, deciding to quietly look out the window. The scenery outside is magnificent, but his peace is interrupted when he notices a boulder rolling toward the carriage. He is shocked. Without thinking, he apologizes to her and leaps forward to protect her. As he does, he notices that her necklace begins to glow with a strange light. He realizes that the necklace is always with her, but despite his actions, his hopes of survival begin to fade. With his starting stats, it seems impossible for him to survive such an event. In the blink of an eye, he opens his eyes to find himself in a different position. Her voice reaches him, asking if he is all right. He realizes that he had fallen on top of her and quickly apologizes. She calmly tells him not to worry. She thanks him, noting that it's the first time a man has approached her in such a way. She understands his intentions and tells him not to apologize. He is taken aback, realizing he only leaped at her to use her armor for protection. She then asks for his name. He hesitates, but finally gives her his full name. She smiles, assuring him that she won't forget him and will repay him later. At that moment, he receives a notification from the system. The system informs him that he has gained a villain's interest and that the conditions for a special gift have been met. He's granted 2 new skills, Desperate Survival and Deadly Charm. He is stunned. He wonders if this is the result of the train journey from Elephant or if it has something to do with the strange circumstances surrounding him. Meanwhile, the doctors check on the injured, confirming that thanks to special security measures, the casualties were minimal. Dud feels a slight pain in his body, but the doctor reassures him, telling him that they haven't even touched him yet. The doctor informs him that those who are healed will be able to depart soon. Just as Dud is thinking about Elefante, another notification from the system pops up. It announces a new special gift granted to him, Fated Attraction. The system explains that the more interest he gains from those with unique characteristics, the more diverse rewards he will receive. He is surprised by this, muttering to himself that he's been trying to understand what's happening but still hasn't figured it out. He reflects that in Campbellvis County, there is no one neutral, everyone is lively and involved. He also begins to suspect that his gift hasn't been unlocked yet, but he wonders if he should check it now. He decides to review his system stats. Looking at his skill levels, he sees Desperate Survival and Deadly Charm. The system explains that Desperate Survival increases his stats when needed, depending on the intensity of danger. He then opens the Deadly Charm skill, which reveals that it makes it easier for him to gain the interest of people with unique traits. The more extreme the circumstances, the stronger the effect. He thinks about the implications of these skills. Desperate Survival seems like it could be useful in battle, especially when survival is at stake. On the other hand, Deadly Charm raises questions. He wonders if it will work in his favor or if it will only complicate things for him. At that moment, another notification from the system appears, stating that it is easier to gain interest from those with extreme traits. He is stunned by this new information. He begins to think carefully, realizing that the characters with special traits in the game were often warriors, mad with the thirst for battle, or other troubled individuals. He imagines a violent mercenary willing to kill anyone for money, a genius mage oblivious to everything around them, and other similar characters. He realizes that these are all mentally unstable or divine beings capable of striking anyone down within 3 steps. His mind is clouded with these thoughts, but he soon wonders if it would be wise for him to focus on acquiring skills that could help him survive. What strikes him as odd is that the ranks of his skills are listed as Avant SR veteran, terms he has never seen before. He cannot grasp their meaning and is left wondering about the significance of this new system. Lost in his thoughts, he suddenly notices the doctor, who sees him deep in contemplation. The doctor asks if he needs a detailed checkup or any additional medical attention. He reassures the doctor that he is fine. Finally, the group arrives at their destination. The leader of the place greets them, thanking them for arriving safely. He remarks that this year's new students are truly outstanding. Dud thinks about the time, where the doctor informs him that he heard he was traveling with the Tricyn princess and adds that he is the son of a viscount, although he has no known connections to him. The doctor also mentions that he is an Elefante Illuminus and belongs to an unknown noble family. With a serious expression, he asks him if he really believes the stone was aimed at their carriage by accident, out of all the vehicles. Dud is taken aback by this question. The doctor continues, explaining that there are many enemies of Tricyn and dukedom, advising him to stay away from these high-ranking aristocrats as being near them could bring harm. Dud reassures the doctor that he will be cautious. At this moment, he receives another notification. An event related to trust is about to take place in D2 with Eleanor. He reflects with a sense of despair, realizing that, whether he wants to or not, he is already entangled in a world filled with sharp and calculating individuals. It's no surprise that he's a potential candidate to become the final enemy. Just being close to someone like Eleanor could lead to his demise. These thoughts weigh heavily on him when he is suddenly jolted back to the present by the sound of his name being called. He is startled as a group of people mocks him, asking if he isn't paying attention. They call him a country boy and inform him that everyone else has already chosen their rivals for the spring. They tell him that after the entrance ceremony, the real competition will begin, and, with seriousness, they mention that his rival has already been decided. Dud, feeling the pressure, begins running toward them, apologizing that he didn't want to compete with anyone. But with everyone else having already chosen their rivals, he knows that the last remaining person must be the strongest. As he runs, he trips, and suddenly, a very beautiful girl appears in front of him, extending her hand in greeting. He's taken aback as he recognizes her, Elia Crixinax, the greatest genius in the world. She smiles at him and asks if he needs help. He is surprised, still in disbelief that this girl, who will become his savior in the future, is standing before him now. Elia is the main character of Savior Rising. The scene shifts to a quiet room where a woman listens to news that Count Crichton and Marquis Galantier have just arrived. She sits in silence, pondering the implications, and wonders if she's gone mad. She informs her companions that the entrance duels are about to begin and, with curiosity, asks when Lady Tristan will arrive. She's concerned by the fact that Lady Tristan has arrived late and questions why this is so. Just then, Lady Tristan enters the room. The woman calmly asks where she has been and states that they need to talk. Tristan and she casually explains that she was finishing some work. The woman, taken aback, sighs in disbelief. She apologizes and says that it seems they need to address some matters first. With concern, she asks if anyone has died. Tristan answers in a composed manner, saying that not many, just about 12 had died. She explains that they had been trying to assassinate her. They had dropped 2 boulders on the academy train, trying to make it look like an accident. But she had discovered their true identities, and, since she was nearby, she took care of them. The woman listens intently, and then calmly suggests that she should have left such matters to the school. But Tristan looks at her in surprise, and explains that the situation was much more complicated. She asks if the woman expects her to be like everyone else, someone who would forgive those who tried to kill her. The woman takes this in and reassures her that it's fine, but suggests that she prepare herself for the entrance tournament. She mentions that if she leaves now, she will have the chance to face Elia Crixinax, the genius, and Dud Campbell. Upon hearing his name, Tristan is shocked and presses her for more information about him. The woman notices her reaction and asks how she knows him. Explains that he had seemed completely unremarkable at first, but is, in fact, quite strange. The scene shifts once again, this time to the battlefield. Dud Campbell stands, trembling, gripping his sword. From behind him, people shout mockingly, telling him to go back to his village. Seasoned fighters question how many moves he will even last, with some commenting on his good fortune for not having been injured so far. Taking in the mocking voices and stares from the crowd, he knows his stats are in shambles, and if Elia's attacks hit him, it could mean his death. But as the moments pass, a sense of belief starts to grow within him. He begins to wonder if this might actually be in his favor. It's dangerous, yes, but he has nothing left to lose. He checks his system stats. The skill Disparate Survival is ranked, and the system informs him that his stats increase during moments of dire need, based on the level of danger he faces. Observing the crowd with grim determination, he reminds himself that the villains he will have to face are likely among these very nobles. If he survives this fight, he might just catch their attention. Armed with this newfound knowledge, he starts to believe that survival is possible. Suddenly, Elia speaks, catching him off guard. She bluntly asks if he's truly that weak. He is speechless, his mind racing with confusion and pressure. She then calmly tells him that she was planning to give him a thorough beat down, but seeing how fragile he looks, she might reconsider. She takes a breath and continues, explaining that she saw him with Lady Tristan. She confesses her hatred not just for her, but for the entire house Tristan, calling them demons. He listens carefully, realizing that this isn't just a conflict between students, it's a deeply rooted family drama. He clarifies that he had only shared a room with Tristan in passing. She reacts sharply, saying that he reminds her of Tristan and that he irritates her, which is why she was going to hurt him. But now, she suggests they pretend to fight. He, considering his options seriously, admits that the idea is tempting, but if he doesn't grow stronger in the next 2 days, his life will be in danger. The only way he can survive is to make himself noticed, here and now. He tells her that she can go all out. Then, perhaps testing fate, he adds that he actually likes Tristan. She is visibly shocked by this and asks if he's serious. She raises her sword toward him in anger. Internally, he knows he's lying completely, but if he wants her to give her all, this is the only way to push her. He declares that he's just as serious as her hatred. At that moment, a system notification flashes across his vision, Deadly Charm activated. The villain's interest in him increases dramatically, and a reward is added to his gift tab. Hearing his words, she declares that she won't feel bad anymore. With a fierce look in her eyes, she charges, swinging her sword with powerful force. He is stunned, his eyes wide as he barely manages to dodge at the last moment. She halts for a second, surprised. She realizes that he isn't as weak as she thought, and she warns him that she'll be coming at him even harder next time. The system triggers once again, disparate survival activated at EX rank. Taking advantage of the sudden surge of strength, he throws a heavy punch with all his might, landing a direct blow to her. She is thrown back, crashing to the ground as a bright flash spreads across the battlefield. The power of his strike shocks everyone present. Their eyes widen in disbelief. Dud Campbell, ranked F in every stat on his first day at Elfin Academy, has just successfully knocked down the central character of this world. The scene shifts to an emergency meeting at Elfin Academy. Professors fill the room, deep in discussion. One of them raises a startling theory that Dud Campbell might be an expert con artist. The others react with shock, their opinions of him shifting so drastically and so quickly that they can hardly comprehend it. A senior professor, calm and composed, speaks up. Everyone remembers how he had shown no combat skills or strength before the duel. They all agree that he had somehow managed to defeat someone like Elia Crixinax. They all agree the attack he delivered had been real. A female professor, frowning with concern, questions the meaning behind the word real. The senior professor replies with quiet gravity, stating that no one at Elfani Academy could have walked away unaffected by that attack, not even him. He explains that there should have been no way for someone like Dud, a rank F student, to defeat a future war general like Elia. The only logical explanation, he speculates, is that Dud must have used some illegal item or external means to temporarily boost his power. But then, with equal seriousness, he offers a second possibility, that he might be an extraordinary, non-ordinary genius. Even then, the female professor nods thoughtfully. It is difficult to accept his victory without a proper explanation. And Elia's sponsor, whoever they may be, won't remain quiet about this. The situation is starting to feel like a major institutional risk. If they overlook a student who may possess incredible potential, the academy could suffer deeply. After some further discussion, the female professor speaks calmly but firmly, stating that it will soon become clear whether Dud is truly a fraud or something far more. They decide to wait and see how things unfold. Her colleague, still puzzled, asks her what exactly she means by that. She replies with quiet seriousness that this year, the academy has welcomed some very interesting entrant students so unique that they require special attention. If he is truly one of them, as the signs suggest, then she believes he is destined to play a role in the academy's future whether they recognize it now or not. Meanwhile, Dud's face begins to appear in newspapers, under breaking headlines. The entire world is now watching him. Speculation rises about whether he is the secret child of the Royal Knight Commander or perhaps the greatest talent ever admitted to El Fonte. Beneath his photograph, bold text declares that he is now the new star of Margrave Cangrade, the boy who, right after entering the academy, brought down Elia in single combat. Dud stares at the newspaper in shock. He can hardly believe what he's reading. This attention feels overwhelming. Just then, a system notification flashes across his screen. Gift update. Character information upgrade. The character relationship levels for Eleanor Elinorize La Tristan have increased from level 1 to level 2. A reward is now available for claiming under the character event, the 1. More notifications follow. Baron Armit community level has reached level 2, earning him 100 points. Viscount Lupin's community level has reached level 1, granting him 50 points. Interest level with Viscount Ground has reached level 3, adding 140 more points to his total. He reflects quietly on what he's seeing. This, he realizes, is how the system works, starting with community, moving through interest, then trust, and each tier yields points that can be spent in the system store. As he continues scrolling through the notifications, he notices something that surprises him. The highest level of interest so far is from Eleanor. Confusion washes over him. Eleanor, the boss who seemed completely uninterested in him, is now showing the strongest engagement. It is unclear why someone like her is so focused on him now. Another system notification arrives, confirming his suspicion. He is now receiving gift rewards related to her. Alongside this, Another notification appears. He has been granted access to the Creston sword technique through the crates. His eyes widened in shock. This technique is from the prestigious House Tristan, a family renowned for their unmatched swordsmanship. He's visibly impressed by the sudden access to such a skill. But as the excitement settles, a troubling realization dawns on him. House Tristan is deeply entwined with demonic forces. He quickly pushes the thought aside, deciding not to dwell on it for now. Almost immediately, another notification arrives, this one regarding character information. Alia's community level has reached level 4, but the system notes that rewards from her cannot yet be claimed. This message unsettles him. He sits in silence. Alia's level is rising, even though gifts are only supposed to be granted by villains who hold positive interest in him. But she is neither a villain nor someone who shows affection for him. Lost in thought, a loud knock at his door startles him. A voice from outside calls out his name, asking if this is his room. The voice sounds familiar. It's as if he's heard it before. Then, the person outside calmly announces that it's Elia, asking for permission to come in. He is stunned by her unexpected appearance. Frustration building within him as he tries to make sense of why she's here. He considers ignoring her, hoping that if he remains silent, she will leave. But her voice becomes firm. She directly addresses him through the door, saying she knows he's inside. She warns him that if he doesn't respond, she will break the door down. Frustrated, he yells back, asking if she's lost her mind. Hearing his voice confirms for her that he's inside. She then politely asks if he can open the door, saying she only wants to talk to him for a moment. Still behind the door, he asks seriously what this is all about. She responds calmly that she just wants them to understand each other a little better. Elia walks away. She has acted impulsively, chasing after someone who clearly doesn't want to be around her. She realizes how pathetic she must have seemed, trying to force a friendship when he didn't even acknowledge her presence. There's something unsettling about the boy, something that leaves her confused and introspective. Becoming friends with someone like him is not easy. Lost in these thoughts, she unexpectedly bumps into Eleanor. The force of the impact causes the packets she is holding to fall to the ground. Without looking up, Elia instinctively picks them up. As she does, Eleanor speaks in a calm but firm voice, remarking that she should have been more careful, asking if she is hurt. Before Elia can respond, she glances at her face. In that instant, memories come rushing back. She recalls the moment when her brother, in trouble, told her to run. A cold shiver runs down her spine as anger begins to rise. She trembles slightly, unsure of how to proceed. She hesitates for a moment, her hand instinctively reaching for the sword at her side. Eleanor's calm demeanor strikes her as strange because she does not seem to sense the threat. She extends her hand to retrieve the items, still showing no sign of concern. Elia watches her carefully, her mind racing with questions. Eleanor isn't reacting. It could be that she feels so confident she doesn't even need to worry about her. Finally, Elia hands the packets back, her thoughts continuing to spiral. She wonders if Eleanor is subtly trying to tell her that she doesn't pose a threat. But the thought is fleeting as her mind shifts to Dud. She's baffled that he is somehow connected to someone like Eleanor. As she begins to walk away, she casually tells her that if she turns right at the end of the hallway, she'll reach Dud Campbell's room. Eleanor stops her and asks sharply how she knows the way to his room. Confused by the intensity of her hostility, Elia calmly smiles and replies that she was simply trying to befriend the new students. But Eleanor's expression hardens. She tells her that mingling with the opposite gender is forbidden for new students. Elia, surprised, asks if such a rule has ever been mentioned before. Eleanor replies, flatly, that she has just made the rule now, and from this moment on, she is not allowed to visit his room. Hearing this, Elia addresses her formally as president and apologetically asks what relationship she even has with him. Eleanor, walking away, answers with quiet seriousness that he means nothing to her. But before leaving, she warns her to remember everything she just told her. Alia's mind begins to churn with this new information, and the memory of something he once said about his serious feelings toward Tristran resurfaces. There's more to them than she had realized, and she senses it. She resolves to stay close to him, whatever the cost, even if only to gather information. The scene shifts to the day of the class assignment exam at Elefante Academy, a day designed to evaluate every aspect of a student's abilities. Dud finds himself placed in the highest-ranked group, a result of his victory in the one-on-one duels. As he scans the crowd, his gaze lands on Elia. She stands there, smiling at him, and his thoughts turn serious. His biggest problem right now isn't the exam, it's her. Just yesterday, he had managed to push her away, yet here she is again, in the same group as him. His mind races with confusion. At that moment, the system sends him a ratification alert, informing him that Elia's curiosity level has reached 5, though he can't receive any rewards just yet. When her interest status changes, a special event will occur. He is stunned. Her interest in him has increased again, but he has no idea why. His mind drifts back to the previous night, when snacks and a letter had mysteriously been delivered to him. The letter had wished him good luck on today's exam. The stage announcement interrupts his thoughts. Group 1, it is your turn now. He takes a deep breath, focusing on the exam. He reminds himself not to overthink Elia's involvement. It's all part of the main scenario. Just then, a notification appears from the system, informing him about the character Eleanor La Tristan. It states that the trust event has reached level 2 and that a character event will occur soon. Eleanor steps forward. She introduces herself, informing the group that she will be overseeing the exam. He is shocked to see her here. It doesn't seem like a coincidence. Eleanor's event was supposed to happen today, and now she is in charge of their group. He begins to wonder if nothing happens during this exam. It would be more than strange. The previous day, all the professors at Elefante Academy had gathered for a meeting. They discussed his unexpected victory over the warrior candidate and agreed that if he truly possessed such remarkable skills, they were eager to see how he would perform in the class assignment exam. They concluded that the test's supervision should be entrusted to the student president. Thus, the responsibility and authority were formally handed over to Eleanor. Now, she stands in front of the students, calmly instructing them to head toward the exam location. She informs them that the questions will be revealed once they arrive, and many students speculate that a great deal of preparation must have gone into this setup. In quiet compliance, they follow her. As they step into the hallway, the lights suddenly go out. The entire area is plunged into darkness. The students are taken aback. Elia, sensing something unusual, turns toward Eleanor and asks with calm seriousness whether this situation is part of the test. Eleanor remains silent, offering no response. Dud, observing the unfolding situation, begins to think seriously. He believes he can answer the question himself after all. The entrance is sealed, and the lights are completely gone. At that moment, he receives a system notification that Eleanor's event has begun. The notification shifts his focus. He starts to suspect that what he's witnessing isn't a test, it's a trap. Another system notification follows, giving him further details about Eleanor's event type, assassination attempt. The notification warns that surviving members of the Grove still target her, and he is instructed to protect her. As he scans the room, he notices a few students whispering among themselves, discussing what their next move should be. They seem to believe they will be safe, but they remain uncertain about the events unfolding. Some mention the possibility of leaving immediately, unsure of what to expect in the darkness. It's then that he has a sudden realization. These students are all part of the main character's core party. His memory sharpens, and he recalls that this is the very scene where they all meet for the first time. Everyone in this room is essential to the plot, and this moment marks the beginning of their interactions. Turning to the wall map, he calmly speaks up, suggesting that the central hall would be the most strategic location to head toward. The others look at the map, surprised by its existence. Dud explains that the central hall likely contains supplies and emergency equipment, but most importantly, it's a large open space. It would be far easier to defend against an ambush there than in the narrow hallways they are currently in. The mention of ambushes causes the group to take notice. Dud glances at Eleanor and Elia and tells them that they must have felt it too. They're not alone here. With the gravity of his words, he declares that he will go somewhere else, which catches everyone by surprise. Elia, now concerned, questions him seriously, asking why he would choose to head in the opposite direction from the central hall. He responds calmly, saying that it's necessary, though he can't explain why at the moment. He assures them that he will explain later, but for now, he knows that his course of action is vital. The others, still unsure but trusting his judgment, begin moving toward the central hall with Eleanor. Dud, however, turns down a quiet, deserted hallway. He feels that perhaps having her by his side earlier had given his words more weight. For now, he resolves to remain hidden until the event concludes. After all, the target of the assassination is Eleanor, not him. If he stays out of the way, no one will pay much attention to him. However, someone calls out to him. A man appears, looking vaguely threatening. The man claims that he's here to fix the power issue and asks him if he can guide him, explaining that his vision is impaired in the dark. At that moment, Dud receives another system notification that a dangerous situation is detected. On the other side, under Eleanor's leadership, the group reaches the Grand Hall. As soon as they arrive, one of the girls in the group, visibly anxious, and turns toward Elia. Her voice trembles as she asks whether she truly believes Dud will be fine on his own. Elia remains calm. She answers the girl without hesitation. Whatever he is doing, she says, there must be a plan behind it. He wouldn't take a step like that otherwise. Then, as if sensing something more, she adds that it's not just him they should worry about. There's a strong sense that something bad could just as easily happen to them too. Meanwhile, down a hallway removed from the others, Dud leads the stranger forward. The man walks beside him. His mind lingers on Eleanor, how she managed to eliminate the advance party. But then his thoughts shift, and he admits to himself that such a feat wouldn't have been possible if he hadn't come here in the first place. Even this boy, he thinks, had been fooled without much effort. As they walk further, Dud remarks casually that the equipment room is just ahead. The man, professionals like him, trained killers, could assess a person's capabilities just by how they move. In Dud's case, the judgment comes quickly, and without mercy he's seen as nothing more than a rookie. The man feels no urgency. He decides he will toy with him a little before killing him. Dud suddenly turns around and looks directly at him. Caught off guard, the man removes his mask and addresses him more directly. He tells him it's time he rewarded him. Dud takes a breath. He thanks God. Everything is unfolding just as he predicted. This man is Hashmed. If it had been anyone stronger, things could have gone wrong. He admits to himself that he feels genuine relief. He states clearly that the way Hashmed walks, the subtle patterns of his movements, even the presence of his rhinitis all confirms his identity. Upon hearing this, Hashmed doesn't understand what Dud is saying and finds himself at a loss for words. However, he thinks to himself that this man is nothing more than a weakling. Without hesitation, Hashmed charges forward to strike at Dud, who remains calm. Elsewhere, under Eleanor's command, a different kind of battle unfolds. One of the students in red cleaves through another opponent. A glance around the hall confirms his suspicion these enemies are far weaker than anticipated. Elia gives an order. Palkas is told to freeze their enemies. She's worried about Eleanor. At the center of the room, Eleanor moves like a shadow. She swings her sword. In a single motion, 4 accessions are thrown against the wall, the impact cracking the stone behind them. She doesn't pause. She drags and calmly asks if there are any more of them deployed in the building. At the same time, another magic user completes a spell, freezing the rest of the enemies in a web of frost. The enemy under her blade can't hold back. He cries out and spills everything. The name comes up, Hashmed of the Crescent Moon. She asks directly whether this man is inside the building. The enemy hesitates. He says he can't reveal that. She doesn't waste time. Her boot crashes into his face. His head slams into the ground. Then she asks again. This time, she wants to know whether the man posing as the student is really an Ascension. The man finally confesses. Yes, he says. He is. He came with them. Elia steps forward slowly. She asks what kind of person would go this far. Eleanor looks at her quietly. She answers that they tried to kill her. Hashmed, she says, is an accession who can copy someone's appearance after killing them. Then, her voice steady, she asks Elia who in this building would be the easiest target. Elia thinks carefully. Her thoughts, almost against her will, drift toward Dud. The realization dawns like a blow. It's possible that he used himself as bait to lure out someone like Hashmed. She doesn't understand the reason behind it. No one should go that far. The assassins were after Eleanor. Dud had no reason to put himself in such danger. There's uncertainty about what exactly his relationship with her is. Eleanor's voice breaks the stillness. She says again what she said before, they're nothing to each other. At least, that's what she knows. Elia doesn't know what to say anymore. Far from them, Dud and Hashmed continue to fight. And now, Hashmed is losing badly. This shouldn't be happening. Hashmed, a trained killer, begins to panic. His thoughts spin. The activation of Guardian's soul makes no sense. That barrier only reacts to weapons, yet Dud is wielding a wooden staff. He tells himself that this school is ancient, that maybe it's full of strange phenomena. Still, he clings to one last excuse. An accession is a weapon in himself. But even with that, nothing explains the beating he's receiving. Dud stands calmly. Then another system notification flashes into Dud's vision. He has successfully executed the SWAT technique. His proficiency in the Tristan sword technique has increased. He is momentarily surprised. The system is recognizing his growth. But the fight continues. Hashmed, he falls, his body broken. He lies on the ground. His voice trembles as he speaks. He says he used him, that he was a pawn from the start. Then he states that no one truly knows who he is. The system responds before Dud can. Another message appears. Deadly charm has activated. The villain is awestruck by his detailed plan. Hashmed begins to understand. The plan wasn't random. Dud brought him here deliberately. Safe zones forbid weapons. But Hashmed, being an accession, became a weapon inside that zone, and Dud had used that fact against him. He tells him that if he won't explain, then just kill him. Dud's voice is quiet. He says he doesn't intend to kill him. Hashmed is stunned. He demands to know why. Dud's answer is simple. He tells him to spread the word that no one is to approach Lady Tristan. And they should remember that even someone like him barely made it out alive. He doesn't know who sent the assassination order, but he knows they'll try again. If they do, there's a risk the gray demon inside Eleanor might awaken. That cannot be allowed to happen. Hashmed listens. After a moment, he asks, almost amused, what he will do if he comes back. Dud answers without hesitation. Then try again, he says. Because next time, he'll be there too, protecting her. There's a pause. Then Hashmed asks if Lady Tristan is really that important to him. Dud looks at him steadily. He says yes. The system responds again. Deadly charm has activated. The villain's favorability is rising exponentially. The notification repeats. And just as he turns to walk away, he freezes. From the shadows ahead, Eleanor is approaching, her eyes locked on him. The scene shifts inside the principal's office of Elefante Academy. She speaks, voice serious and worn, telling Eleanor that she understands why the chancellor is outraged. The whole situation has spiraled out of control, and yet somehow, they're expected to track down the perpetrators immediately. She admits a chilling possibility this situation is not just mismanagement or coincidence. It feels like the academy is breaking down from the inside. The details surrounding the assassination attempt, the timing, the path chosen, all of it suggests the presence of a spy. Someone on the inside. Eleanor listens quietly. The woman continues, saying that she knows political attacks against her are now becoming routine. Still, the fact that this is the second attempt on her life means their enemies are no longer just testing the waters. They're committed. Eleanor gives a small nod. The woman's tone grows heavier. She confesses that something about this particular attack feels different. There's a structure to it, a certainty. Whoever arranged it will undoubtedly strike again. And yet, all the students who were involved with her during the incident have received formal recognition for their actions. Commendations were distributed without hesitation. Not a single injury was sustained, and everyone contributed in some way except for one person. She frowns. The one anomaly is Dud Campbell. Despite being present, he has received no commendation, no recognition, and no explanation. She says it plainly. There's no logical reason for his exclusion. And she admits openly that she doesn't understand why. A pause follows. Then she looks at Eleanor. She says it feels as if he is deliberately avoiding attention from the academy's upper staff. Eleanor, still composed, agrees quietly. She's thought the same. The woman narrows her eyes. Her voice sharpens. If Eleanor says I wonder one more time, she warns she'll hit her. Eleanor remains unfazed and tells her to go ahead. That breaks the woman's restraint. In a burst of irritation, she grabs a nearby cup and hurls it toward her. She demands to know what her problem is. Still seated, still composed, Eleanor simply asks what she means. The woman's tone shifts. She tells her that she has been disconnected all day, her focus lost, her thoughts elsewhere. With a serious expression, she says that she doesn't know what's going on inside her. But unless Eleanor explains, she's done helping her. Then Eleanor finally speaks. She says she thinks she's become interested in something. That surprises the woman. Her brows rise as she leans forward, asking what exactly she means. Eleanor answers without pause. She thinks she's grown interested in someone. Then she exhales the name that's been circling her mind since the start, Dud Campbell. A silence falls again. The woman stares. Then she asks with disbelief if she actually likes that country bumpkin. Eleanor answers firmly that she never said that. Not yet. That one word yet stuns the woman even more. She stares at her like she's grown another head. She mutters that she doesn't have the slightest idea what he could have possibly done to catch her attention. She wonders what Archduke Tristram would say if he heard about this. Still, Eleanor doesn't waver. She says clearly that she does not fancy Dud. But the woman's face shows she doesn't believe a word of it. Her expression says she's convinced Eleanor is lying to herself. She leans back in her chair, then asks if he was treating her kindly. Before Eleanor can answer, the woman continues. She says someone like her should have started out suspicious. That's the expected reaction. After all, she's not just anyone. She's a daughter of House Tristram. She has to be careful. Eleanor agrees softly. She's merely going to test him. As long as she keeps observing, she says, she'll be fine. The scene changes. Inside a quiet room, Dud lies on his bed, a letter clutched tightly in his hand. The letter explains that no class can be assigned to him yet. The academic team is still analyzing the situation to find the most suitable placement. They assure him that a favorable outcome is likely and ask him to remain patient. He frowns. Then, with a frustrated breath, he clutches his head. He doesn't want any of it. He wishes they would just dump him into some low-profile, worthless class and be done with it. But the thought lingers. The academy is not following its rules, and there is no logic behind his exclusion from something like Elias' party. Then, a notification appears before him. The system message announces the completion of the first main quest. Additional information has been unlocked. His new objective: resolve the incident that will occur during the freshman reception ceremony. The reward exclusive equipment materials will be granted upon success. He focuses. The freshman reception ceremony, that's the moment when classes are finally revealed. Every role, every specialization, from archer to priest, is determined there. The system has confirmed it. His future build depends entirely on his training choices. He considers this. If Elia focuses on swordsmanship, then he'll aim for physical strength. By specializing in raw power, the system will tailor his rewards to match. But there's still one glaring problem. Another notification flashes. This one shows Eleanor's character details. Her trust level has surpassed level 5, and affection has temporarily increased. A reward is now available. She is listed as a notable figure. Upon her emotional shift, a special event will be triggered. The countdown is 3 days. Another message follows immediately. Elia's interest level is also at 5. Her emotional change nears. She, too, is flagged for a special event. And the timing is also 3 days. He closes his eyes. It's all happening at once. The final boss, the protagonist, the main quest. It's all converging. Then, one more notification. The gift reward from Eleanor has been received. A skill duplication pass. He stares at it, stunned. The ability to copy a skill is beyond broken. He almost laughs at how ridiculous it sounds. He thinks about using it to steal a final boss's power. He regains his calm. No, not now. Using it would be a waste. Eleanor and Elia may be strong now, but they're only going to grow more powerful. When they gain their true, absurd abilities, that's when he'll strike. For now, patience is key. 3 days. That's all the time he has. Fortunately, he already has a plan. Night cloaks the sky in black. Inside an old equipment warehouse, he walks carefully. A mask covers his eyes. Each step is measured. He inhales slowly. The point store is more useful than anyone could imagine. A flashy system message greets him. His haste position offers slight agility. The shadow mask boosts it further. Catwalk shoes now muffle his movements. SR tryhards once called this the ultimate treasure farming spot. After bypassing every security measure, he's finally here. He begins searching. The system notifies him again. A stamina recovery biscuit. Its effect sounds ridiculous, like something out of a sales pitch, but he has a hunch it might work. He presses forward. After scavenging through crates and forgotten piles, he starts collecting what he came for. Almost everything is already in his possession. All that's left now is the most important item. He digs deeper. Finally, He finds it buried under layers of old equipment. The Ultima of Divinity. A burner pulsing with ancient strength, said to contain power sealed for 1,000 years. Relief floods him. He holds it close, quietly thankful. Then he sees movement. A mountain of equipment trembles nearby. Pebbles fall. Then, from within the shifting clutter, a girl collapses. He rushes to her, without hesitation. It's Yuria. He lifts her. His mind races. Yuria is also known as the Grey Haunter. Chapter 2's boss. The cursed SWAT goddess. It hits him then. The Ultima of Divinity, this warehouse, it's hers. That's why she's here. Before he can do anything more, a faint glow surrounds her. In the blink of an eye, she breaks free. A sudden system warning strikes him. Lethal threat detected. Another follows. Desperate survival mode activated X rank. His instincts kick in. Trying to explain, to apologize, to say he didn't mean to wake her, but it's too late. In a flash, the chain attached to her sword hilt spins through the air, aimed directly at him. He throws himself back. The chain misses by inches. Had he stayed still, he would have died on the spot. The ability she just used, encircling long, makes it impossible for him to get close. Even if he wanted to counter, he wouldn't have the range, and even if he had the range, the power disparity is too overwhelming. His body still trembles from residual pain. Eventually, he raises his hands in a quiet gesture of surrender, trying to ease the tension. He tries to explain that it's all a misunderstanding. She doesn't listen. Her chained weapon spins at a constant rhythm, its blade gouging into the ground with each rotation. He keeps defending himself, struggling to buy time. But before long, she drives him into a corner. There's no exit left behind him. Then comes the final move. She hurls her chain blade with blinding speed. He relies purely on instinct. Just as the blade's tip is about to hit him, it halts in midair. She narrows her eyes, puzzled. Eventually, she retracts the weapon. He already knows why. It's the curse. The boundary of 3.5 steps. Any opponent who steps within that cursed radius is destined to lose. But the condition works both ways. She herself cannot move beyond that range. That's the binding placed upon her by the weapon she carries. She grips her sword tightly. She questions whether he has the courage to take a single step forward. He doesn't answer immediately. He wonders aloud if that's what she wants, to provoke him into stepping forward so she can end it. Realization dawns on him. He can't escape. He has no other route. The place they stand in is her space, cut off from others. Even the academy's staff do not frequent this corner of the grounds. She has been left alone here, with nothing but her weapon and her silence. Then, a small moment, he suddenly asks if she wants a biscuit. He extends his hand, holding out a few stamina recovery cookies. She studies him. The hostility doesn't vanish, but it's no longer escalating. She responds with suspicion, questioning whether he thinks food can bribe her. Without speaking again, he tosses one of the biscuits toward her. She moves. She dashes after it and acts almost mechanical in its speed. Once she has it, her posture changes. She seems more centered now. A thought stirs in his mind. Maybe she really couldn't communicate while hungry. He had come dangerously close to dying. She asks who he is and why he came. He hesitates. The truth is sharp and ugly. He came to steal. But he can't say that. So instead, he tells her that he was sent to bring her food. That someone he knows asked him to look after her. This answer catches her attention. She begins to question who that someone is. He chooses silence where it matters. He knows that the current misunderstanding could be useful later. By all rights, he should not be meeting her this early in the game. He then speaks again, telling her not to worry. Her sister is safe in the Holy Empire. That sentence changes her expression completely. Her eyes widen. He continues, telling her that for now, the Emperor isn't paying attention to them. But it won't stay that way forever. She needs to remain hidden. He assures her of that. And then, he walks away. Before leaving entirely, he tells her he'll return. She hails from the Holy Empire. Her presence in Elefante is due to an explicit order from the Holy Emperor. The sword she wields is infamous across continents, believed to be of demonic origin. She isn't just its wielder, she is its vessel. And because of that, she is cursed and bound by the 3.5-step rule. This is why he believes it is necessary for someone like her to be reminded that family still exists, that she hasn't been forgotten entirely. He knows that she must be shouldering an unbearable amount of pain, and there's likely very little left in her to hope for. The day rolls forward. The following morning, all students gather atop a high cliff that overlooks the academy's sprawl. Before them stands a professor named Ophelia. Ophelia then informs them that the freshman reception ceremony is just a few days away. On that day, every student will be required to choose both a major and a minor. She continues, stating that there are 5 main departments: knighthood, spellcraft, engineering, production, and clergy. In the midst of this, a student raises a question. He asks whether the same curriculum is taught in the tribal association as it is in the Holy Empire. Ophelia nods, affirming it with calm warmth. Yes, they do follow the same structure. The education given at the furnace of battle and the Great Temple is the same as what they're receiving now. She adds a caution that there's no reason for them to consider transferring out. Then she begins to explain the majors in more detail as Dud stands in the crowd. He doesn't speak. He listens with quiet focus. He knows this is a tutorial event, a design segment to explain the mechanics and world structure. But even if he knows that, he cannot afford to skip it. Skipping it would mean throwing away everything he's done so far. Time flows. After a while, another student steps forward and points at the horizon. He asks whether that glowing land in the distance is the white zone. Ophelia pauses. She reflects. Then she confirms that yes, it is the white zone. She warns everyone that it is a forbidden region. Entry without authorization will bring punishment. Everyone turns to look. A strange, red glow pulses across the vast land in the distance. Dud's gaze lingers. That place is not ordinary. It is where the divine clashed with the damned heaven and hell, gods and demons. Messengers and warriors empowered by the divine sealed the demons there. Even now, centuries later, the tension between death and divinity still pulses in the air. This is why the Holy Empire, the tribal aliens, and the Empire forged a pact with the Golden Triangle to monitor the area constantly. The network includes Elfanti and the other academies. As he reflects on this, another student asks whether they're allowed to go there just to take a look. Ophelia responds with clarity. It's permissible to walk near the border just inside the Seraph's protective barrier. Beyond that, it's unsafe. Inside, it's secure. Dud smiles faintly. He's already thinking ahead. The planned excursion is meant to go from half launch and back. But his intentions are drifting towards something else entirely. He thinks about the Seraph, beings above angels, entities said to flip mountains, stir oceans. It was they who built the divine barrier. He knows that without it, this academy wouldn't exist this close to the white zone. Eventually, the students reach the designated spot. Ophelia announces that they'll eat lunch here. Dud stays quiet. The divine protection is what makes this proximity possible. He eventually walks to her, asking politely if he may eat alone. He explains that he feels uncomfortable around the others. She studies him. She's aware of the whispers of what others have been saying about him. She gives him a warning not to go too far. It could be dangerous. Dud nods and walks away. Some students mutter, sneering. They think the country boy is getting full of himself. Unbothered, Dud begins to set up. He pulls out his supplies. A unicorn's horn, a phoenix's feather, a fan made from coral berry leaves. His preparations are methodical. Finally, he draws out the artifact given to him by Uriah the night before, one he had not revealed to anyone. He places all components inside. He lights them. A violet smoke begins to rise. He blows on it sharply, and the smoke grows denser, the scent sharper. He feels something realization creeping in. As he begins to wonder whether he's missed something, the magic activates. A presence thickens around him. The object hums softly. Then it becomes clear. This is why he came. This is the access point. Suddenly, the world in front of him erupts. A radiant burst of light blinds the area, and he hears a voice echo through the veil, asking aloud where the allied forces are. Before he can form a response, another voice breaks in with a sharp tone, pointing out that instead of leveling the ground as instructed, someone merely dug a drain and left. Immediately after, the first voice returns, now directing its words toward another figure, noting that the Jurian group has once again been blamed for the mess. Their attention shifts entirely to him, standing just nearby, observing them. For a brief moment, they simply stare at him. Confusion spreads among them, and they begin to murmur, puzzled by his presence and behavior. The angels begin returning to their tasks. One attempts to take a brief rest, only to be met with irritation from his partner, who scolds him and demands to know why his shovel isn't moving. Both resume work quickly, although one of them grins, amused that he is still watching. A voice from the side barks out an instruction, insisting that the task is not yet finished and that they should stop digging inward and begin spreading the soil outward. Dud stands still, silent and confused, trying to process what he is witnessing. A sharp blast from a horn cuts through the scene. A truck rolls into the area. The angel in the driver's seat announces the arrival of the holy mud bricks and urges everyone to start unloading quickly. Voices rise in response, asking how many bricks there are. The driver replies bluntly, they're practically infinite. In another corner, a bald angel raises his voice, scolding the others and demanding they observe how hard their seniors are working. A curly-haired angel, flustered, jumps into action to catch up. A younger angel passes a brick to his captain and asks innocently if the food shipment has arrived yet. The captain apologizes, explaining that the delivery vehicle broke down and is under repair. For now, they'll have to wait. Dud watches from his place apart, still taking in the bizarre turn of events. He fixes his gaze on one of the junior angels and starts to understand why angels do not simply descend whenever they want. It becomes increasingly clear to him that these beings operate under a strict order. Their world is a military system disciplined, hierarchical, and bound by chains of command. The realization sinks in. The rules of this realm are nothing like the physical one. He recalls the in-game progression meeting angels was something only possible after Chapter 2. Direct interaction with the high-ranking ones happened far later. Lost in these thoughts, he is suddenly faced with a large spread of food placed before him. There's a variety of items, more than he had expected. Gratitude stirs in him, and he quietly thanks the angels in his heart. As he begins to eat, he notices whispers rising among them. They are surprised he is still watching them so intently. They begin speculating about what he might have brought and are amazed at how much he is eating. A few start eyeing the food with longing, murmuring among themselves about asking for a little. A female angel breaks their thoughts with a sharp reminder that the human hasn't fulfilled the conditions for descent yet. She sternly orders them to return to work and unload the rest of the bricks. Dud observes this dynamic with quiet calm. He speaks in a measured tone, advising them to eat first before tiring themselves out with more labor. His words reach them clearly, and the offering transfers. The food appears in the hands of the angels. Eventually, their captain grants a short 10-minute break. The angels dig into the meal eagerly. They find sweet rolls among the food, and even a stick included, and their surprise grows. Watching their reactions, Dud thinks to himself how different the laws of this world are and how his single portion is enough to feed all of them. Their captain then turns his attention to him and gestures toward the thurible in his hand. He recognizes its importance and offers to bless it. He asks him what he would like in return, as long as it is within reason. He promises to do his best to grant it. Dud is taken aback. There's been no formal negotiation, no exchange of cards, no strategy from his side, and yet the blessing is offered so freely. He had prepared detailed plans for such an event. Now, it is unfolding effortlessly. He questions whether the original storyline had such a simple path laid out. The captain senses his thoughts. He looks at him with calm clarity and tells him that perhaps it is insight that matters here, the ability to see the nature of things just by looking. He notes that Dud seems to be informed and that this is not accidental. He adds that he has an ability he hasn't developed yet, and it would benefit him greatly to invest in it. Dud considers this in silence. He wonders if the captain is referring to the trait known as great, loved by evil. The angel confirms this indirectly. He states that the gift is far stronger than he realizes, and how it is used will be up to him. It is because of this gift, he explains, that a cruel yet strangely kind being has become interested in him. Dud hears this and quietly acknowledges it. He had suspected as much. He decides, then and there, that once he obtains the blessed thurible, he will map out every available strategy. Survival will be his anchor. Elsewhere, a high-ranking angel watches him with interest. Large, majestic wings folded neatly. The angel remarks that any normal human would have collapsed in fear long ago, but he stands calm, already planning. He notes the potential in Dud and reassures him, there is nothing to fear. The blessing is completed. Dud thanks the angel sincerely. Dud, having witnessed it all, begins to think again. He wonders about the meaning behind it all. The phrase cruel, yet friendly, seems unclear to him. He feels unsure why they call him a great human, but the captain seems to sense his uncertainty. With a composed tone, he tells him to believe in himself at the very least. The captain already believes in him. As those words settle in, the divine light around them dims, fading softly. Dud is left behind in serious contemplation. He reminds himself of the truth: he's not chasing glory. He's trying to survive. The angel's advice echoes in his thoughts, and he chooses to take it seriously. He opens his system interface, wanting to see what blessing he has received. There it is: Ultrama of Divinity, C+, a divine gift from the higher beings of this realm. It contains 2 core abilities. The first is aestheticism, C. It lets him convert excess conditions into temporary constitution using a small amount of mana. It has a cooldown of 20 seconds and can be upgraded with demonstrations of faith. The second is protective shield. It consumes a little mana to generate a single-use shield that boosts constitution. It too can be improved with time and has the same cooldown. He studies both carefully. They're useful. Constitution ties to survival, and his unique condition improves his other stats through survival. These gifts are valuable, but one problem remains: mana. Even the smallest amount is out of reach for now. He has no traits connected to it. That's the reality. So he makes his decision. Until he can use mana, he will rely entirely on strategic planning. That was the whole reason he came here in the first place. The scene shifts. He now stands among the students at the academy. Though quiet, his mind is racing. He is turning over strategies again and again. Someone approaches him. The person comments with a smirk about Dud's habit of ignoring others. Dud, steady, responds that he has been listening the whole time. The other student is taken aback and asks what exactly he heard. Dud replies calmly he heard everything, including the mention of a 2-person team. The man grows more serious and demands whether he even knows what that means. He looks around and asks where his partner is. Dud answers without hesitation that his partner will arrive soon. The man laughs, mocking the idea. He questions who would willingly partner with someone like him. But Dud stays composed and confident. He explains that while his partner may not be famous, she is on her way. That's how it has to go. That's how the story was written. At that exact moment, Elio arrives. She strides up to the man and asks him about the monster research department. Dud watches her silently. He hadn't planned to engage with the main characters so early, but after hearing the Archangel's words, his strategy shifted. She sees him and is visibly surprised. He asks her, with honesty, whether the offer she made earlier to get to know each other still stands. She stops, staring at him intently. Memories flood her. She recalls his admiration for Elnir and how she had once questioned her about it. Elnir had dismissed it without concern. Now, seeing him hold his hand out to her, she falls into deep thought. Every tactic she used failed, and now he's employing the very approach that awakens jealousy, the same one she had considered dangerous. She stares at him in silence, stunned by how mistaken he is in his quiet hope. The scene shifts to the academy's mock dungeon, where Elia questions Dud, asking if he's truly certain about this plan. Dud responds with confidence, urging Elia to have faith in him. He reminds her that she once said she wanted to be friends with him. Dud adds, "Do you remember how you tried to hurt me when we first met?" Elia replies, "Of course," thinking to herself that she was actually the one who got hit. Dud continues, "If you still want to be friends after that, then you should do what I say." Dud instructs Elia to move towards 9 o'clock, warning her that 3 monsters are approaching. Elia follows Dud's directions and successfully defeats the enemies. Then Dud alerts her that 2 more monsters are descending from the ceiling. 2 bat-like creatures begin to swoop down, and Dud quickly informs Elia that their weak point is their neck. She should aim for their bodies rather than their wings. Elia executes the plan, striking down the bats. Frustrated, she demands that Dud stop bossing her around and come help. But Dud calmly refuses. "No," he says, before explaining that 2 daggers will soon fly at her from the left and right. "You can deflect them. Just hold out for 10 seconds. Hearing this, Elia blocks the incoming daggers. Dud compliments her performance, then warns that a paralytic poison is about to be released from a device on her right. She should break it. Although Elia grumbles, she obeys. Next, Dud tells her to dodge 3 arrows coming from his direction, instructing her to stay in place. He begins a countdown from 3. After that, he alerts her of an attack coming from behind. Shocked, Elia spins around and narrowly blocks a strike from a golem. Angrily, she says, "If you knew all this, wouldn't it be faster if you helped me instead? We could get through this way more efficiently if we work together." Dud remains silent, but his thoughts reveal the truth. He wants to help, but he can't. He's merely an extra with F-rank stats across the board. His skill, Desperate Survival, only activates in life-threatening situations. But this mock dungeon is filled with artificial beasts executing pre-programmed actions. There's no real danger here, and his ability is useless. Since Desperate Survival isn't an all-powerful skill, Dud must raise his stats quickly. Elia, still fuming, charges toward him, sarcastically calling him Master Dud. Dud wonders if he's been too harsh, but then Elia slays a monster that was about to ambush him from behind. He's taken aback. At that moment, the system announces that Elia has achieved an incredible feat. She has broken the previous record. Surprised, Elia asks Dud what just happened. "I fought alone, and this stage is meant for 2. How did I break a record?" Dud silently reflects that despite appearances, he's a tryhard when it comes to this game. Out loud, he brushes it off, saying, "We just got lucky." He then warns her that the next area will be tougher, but encourages her to keep going. Elia looks even more frustrated. Meanwhile, in another room, someone is watching their progress. The observer comments, "They're doing pretty well." This figure is revealed to be Percy, the Dean of Spellcraft. Percy remarks that she might need to allocate more funding to mock battles next year. She then turns to Conrad Valadidor, asking for his thoughts. Conrad inquires if the dungeon was designed by the department. Another professor nervously confirms that it was. Conrad notes, "Then I must have gotten lucky. The one I've been watching closely is doing well." Percy assumes he's referring to Elia, calling her the next term's warrior candidate. "They're progressing exceptionally quickly," Percy adds. "Quite impressive." But Conrad corrects her. "Not Elia. I'm talking about Dud Campbell." Percy looks surprised. "Dud? He's a con artist. Isn't he just riding the coattails of the warrior candidate?" Conrad disagrees. She would have never broken that record on her own. When Percy presses him, asking why he's suddenly picking a fight, Conrad explains, "Anyone can see Elia is strong and taking the lead. But Dud is the key. His partner's positioning, the way he issues commands at perfect timing, his ability to follow up. Every move he makes shows impeccable judgment." Conrad silently thinks that Dud's actions seem almost too perfect, as if he's fought through thousands of battles before. He then proposes a bet. Picking up the microphone, Conrad introduces himself to Dud and Elia, saying he has taken an interest in their performance. He adds that he and Percy, the Dean of Spellcraft, have decided to make a wager. "The bet," Conrad explains, "is whether or not the 2 of you can break the record we set back when we were freshmen. If you succeed, you'll earn the right to make one request of Dean Percy." Hearing this, Percy grows frustrated and wonders why Conrad would go to such lengths. Nevertheless, Conrad turns to Dud and Elia, stating that if they feel pressured, he won't force them to proceed. "Your current achievement is already an incredible feat," he says. "This request is nearly impossible to begin with." However, Dud responds confidently, "Obviously, Elia and I can handle that much." Elia, caught off guard by his assurance, looks at him in surprise. Seeing Dud's unwavering confidence, Percy becomes visibly irritated. Conrad, undeterred, declares that he's placing his bet on Dud and Elia's success. And with that, the test begins. The scene shifts to a training ground, where a brown-haired woman addresses Elnor. "I get that you come here to clear your head," she says, "but lately, you've been overdoing it. Is something wrong?" Elnor, panting, simply asks the woman for some water. As the woman hands her a bottle, Elnor explains, "There's something I've been trying to remember." Curious, the woman asks, "What is it you're trying to recall?" "When I was a child," Elnor begins, "my mother taught me these moves. I can't remember them clearly, so I've been going through them again from the start." As Elnor drinks, her mind wanders. A demon lives in the Tristan bloodline. This dark rumor, passed down in whispers, bears 2 interpretations. The first is the inhuman level of talent that members of the Tristan family possess. The second, more sinister, is the occasional descent into madness. explosive fits of violence, and the gradual unraveling of sanity. It is for this reason that, despite the awe-inspiring accomplishments of those from the Tristan household, their later years are often marked by tragedy. Is it something serious? The woman asks gently. Eleanor shakes her head. It's nothing to worry about. I don't think much of it now. If you say so, the woman replies, trailing off for a moment before adding. Then I guess I can go ahead and tell you. Why are you being so hesitant? Eleanor asks. I told you, nothing's going to bother me right now. The woman hesitates no longer. It's about that information you asked me to report immediately if I heard anything. I just got word from a junior of mine. Dud Campbell is currently working under the next term's warrior candidate. That grabs Eleanor's attention. The woman continues. I'm talking about Elia Crixinax, the same girl who fought Dud earlier. You mean those two teamed up? Eleanor asks, narrowing her eyes. The woman nods. Most likely because the mock battles require teams of two. Eleanor lets out a long breath and turns her gaze toward the horizon. Take me to them. The woman looks puzzled. Wait, didn't you just say you don't think anything of it? The scene shifts to the mock battle dungeon, where Elia asks Dud what he plans to do. She acknowledges that while Dud is clearly skilled, challenging the all-time record seems excessive. Is it really worth it? She questions. Dud responds simply, yes. Elia, taken aback by his self-confidence, asks if he has a solid reason for doing this. Dud, thinking to himself, knows he can't tell her the real reason, that artificial monsters follow consistent movement patterns, making it easier to target their weak points. Instead, he looks at her and says, because you're here with me. Elia scoffs. I can't believe you. Just then, Conrad asks if they're ready. Dud replies confidently, we've been ready. Conrad informs them that the difficulty level of the final section can be adjusted, and the higher the difficulty they overcome, the more bonus points they'll receive. Without hesitation, Dud tells him to set it to the highest level. Percy, now clearly frustrated, mutters that she can't believe these freshmen. She dislikes the reckless energy they're giving off. This is going too far. The highest difficulty level simulates near-real combat, meaning Dud and Elia could be seriously injured. Still, Dud insists there's value in taking the risk. Conrad agrees and initiates the challenge. Dud turns to Elia. Don't be nervous, he tells her. We're just getting started. Back in the professor's room, Percy sips her tea, visibly annoyed. I can't believe Conrad, she mutters. Conrad chuckles. You're acting like this is new. Didn't we do the same thing with our last freshman class? Percy replies, that was entirely different. These students could get seriously hurt. Conrad remains calm. We'll see. I'm sure Dud has a reason for his confidence. And if it gets too dangerous, we'll step in and save them. Inside the dungeon, the monsters rush Dud and Elia in unison. The highest level has been activated, Conrad announces. Time to prove yourselves. Frustrated but determined, Elia yells, let's go, Dud. Dud then receives a system notification, danger detected. As the monsters close in, another window pops up, threat level classified as life-threatening. Instantly, Dud activates his skill and, with one clean strike, takes down a monster. That's it, Conrad shouts. That's what I was waiting for. Did you see that? Percy is stunned by his outburst. Watching Dud in action, Elia thinks to herself, I knew it. He had a plan all along. Percy, shocked, mutters, so he was pretending earlier. Dud then charges forward with incredible speed, taking down monster one after another. I don't blame you, Conrad tells Percy. I'd have reacted the same if I hadn't seen Dud's transformation myself. As the battle progresses, both the monsters and Dud will continue evolving. They'll grow together. Percy is left speechless. We then see Elia and Dud fighting side by side. Elia gets pushed back by a powerful strike, but manages to block it. She calls out to Dud. He immediately responds, leaping into the air and using the Tristan sword technique La Volpe. With multiple swift strikes, he defeats the monster. Suddenly, an announcement rings out. Congratulations, Dud Campbell and Elia Crixinax. You have broken the all-time record. But the celebration is short-lived. A surviving monster rises behind Dud, preparing to strike. At the last second, Conrad intervenes, taking the monster down and saving Dud. It looks like Dud has set an unbreakable record, one that may last for years, Conrad says. Who would have thought a freshman could clear Elfante's artificial monsters like they were nothing? Elia lights up upon seeing Professor Conrad. He congratulates her on her effort, and Percy arrives shortly after. Conrad turns to her with a smirk. Looks like I won. Percy, annoyed, mutters, must be nice. Later that day, Dud and Elia receive a document entitling them to rent one item from the Vision Warehouse and granting them the right to request a favor from the Dean of Spellcraft. Elia is amazed. Dud, however, downplays it, saying, "Isn't this something any freshman can access?" Elia shakes her head. "I've noticed something about you, Dud. No matter what happens, you always seem calm, like you already know how everything is going to play out. It's like you've planned it all in advance." Dud doesn't respond. Internally, he admits the truth. Of course. I already know how all of this unfolds. Elia then extends her fist. "Don't guys always do this with their friends?" she asks with a grin. They bump fists, and a window appears. Elia's curiosity stage has reached level 5, nearing trustworthy stage. As Elia turns to leave, she says with a smile, "See you tomorrow, Dud." Watching her go, Dud reflects. I don't know if she's just being friendly, or if she's just odd. At that very moment, he's caught off guard. Elnor appears, having come to meet him. Wasting no time, Elnor asks Dud if he likes that freshman. Dud is surprised by the sudden question. In his mind, he thinks, since desperate survival isn't activating, it seems like Elnor doesn't plan on doing anything to me. Wait, isn't that obvious? It's not like I'm her boyfriend or anything. Elnor, unfazed, says calmly, "I'll only ask once. Do you like that freshman?" Suddenly, a system window appears, danger detected. Dud realizes he needs to say something. After a brief hesitation, he replies, "I've been training with Elia this whole time, but I still wanted to see you." Confused, Elnor wonders what Dud is suddenly talking about. What am I doing? Dud thinks to himself. There's no way that would work. Then, with a faint smile, Elnor says, "So, basically, you're saying you missed me?" Dud nods. "That's correct." "Why?" Elnor asks. "I wonder why myself," Dud says, while inwardly thinking, "What's wrong with me?" Elnor quickly changes the subject. "Forget it. Maybe this is one of those friendships. I get it. It's probably because I saved you on that train. Just remember the priority listing." Shocked and confused, Dud wonders, what priority listing? What is she talking about? Sensing his confusion, Elnor reassures him. "Don't worry about it." She then hands him a letter. "I came here to give you this." Looking at the letter, Dud wonders, what is this? A love letter? A challenge? This wasn't in the original story. Elnor explains, "I was planning to give it to you tomorrow, but make sure to open it when you're alone." "All right," Dud replies. He returns to his room and opens the letter. After reading it, he mutters, "I shouldn't have opened this." The letter is a partner request. Elnor wants Dud to accompany her to the freshman welcome party. While becoming her partner for the event isn't a huge deal, he would just have to spend time with her during the party. The real issue lies in the penalty. If Dud refuses her, not only will Elnor's affection level drop, but the resulting backlash could turn her hostile. As Dud contemplates, there's a knock on the door. He opens it, and it's Elia. "I figured it would be you," Dud says. Elia, holding a letter, replies with a smile, "You catch on pretty fast." She hands him the letter. Dud mutters, "This again?" Hearing that, Elia raises an eyebrow. "What do you mean, again? Did someone already give you a letter?" Dud quickly backtracks. "No, I meant what is this?" Inwardly, he thinks, "I almost died just now. I can't believe Elia's here with a request too." With a playful grin, Elia says, "What do you think it is?" Surprise. "I made up my mind during the mock battle. I have to run now, thanks to those weird rules the student president made." She darts off, calling back, "Hurry up and read it." Dud sighs. Why are there so many weird people in this world? He opens the letter, expecting a challenge. There's no way she's also asking to be my partner, right? But he's wrong. It's another partner request. The final boss and the main character, Dud thinks. And I have to choose one of them? This wasn't supposed to happen in the original story. Why couldn't they give me an easier choice? If he chooses Elnor, he'll become a villain in the eyes of the main character. But if he picks Elia, he risks earning the wrath of the final boss. He might even die, especially considering that mysterious priority list Elnor mentioned. If I refuse both, what do I even do? Dud wonders. This is probably happening because both Elnor and Elia are still in the interested stage. This is a huge problem. Eventually, Dud mutters, I'll just accept both. The scene shifts to the ceremony, where all the freshmen have gathered. Elia looks around and says, there are a lot of people here. Thanks for coming with me, Dud. Dud remains silent as they walk side by side. A window appears. Clone Walker. Ability to create a clone of the original. Dud had to use all the points he saved. Though the clone can only act in his place, he thinks this might actually work. Another system message follows. Event activated, double date. Because Dud accepted both partner requests, the event has begun. A warning follows. Do not get caught before the event ends. Penalty will be applied upon failure. As Dud prepares the clone, he thinks, even with this many people around, this could go horribly wrong. If I get caught, or if someone sees me and the clone at the same time. To maintain his cover, Dud activates the Cold Gentleman preset for the clone to keep it quiet and composed. Just then, Dud hears a roar and flinches, only to be relieved when he sees it's just a monster outside the barrier. I just need to survive this, Dud tells himself. At that moment, Elnor walks in, and Dud is completely stunned to see her. As they move forward, Dud suggests to Elnor, why don't we head to the event and check out the nearby stalls? Elnor nods and tells him to take the lead. Dud thinks to himself that, by now, his clone and Elia should have met up. He needs to be careful to avoid running into his clone. Spotting a food stall, he turns to Elnor and says, let's grab something to eat from there. The stall is selling skewers. Internally, Dud winces, thinking this might be the worst recommendation for Elnor. But to his surprise, Elnor blushes and says, how did you know I like skewers? As they continue walking, Dud reminds himself that he needs to maintain their relationship, but also keep a healthy distance. It's crucial that Elia stays far away from both of them. They approach another stall, this one selling accessories. Elnor asks if there's anything Dud wants. He shakes his head. No, but I'll buy something for you, he says. To maintain emotional distance, Dud picks the least thoughtful item he can find, a plain button, and tells her, this looks nice. What do you think? Blushing again, Elnor replies, actually, I needed a button for one of my uniforms. Dud sighs internally. This is going to be harder than I thought. As they sit down, Elnor asks, have you chosen your major yet? Yes, Dud answers. I plan to major in theology. Surprised, Elnor urges him to reconsider. With your talent, it would be a waste not to join the Knights. But Dud has chosen this path for a reason. There's something I want to learn in the theology department, he says. Intrigued, Elnor asks, so there's something you want to learn? Yes, Dud replies. To protect what's precious to me, I need to study there. And what is it that you want to protect? Elnor asks. My life, and your downfall, Dud thinks. Holy skills are essential for his survival and achieving the ending he desires. Ever since I was little, I've had something I wanted to protect, he says. It's related to the secret society incident. He knows this upcoming event features a chapter boss unusually weak against holy skills. Elnor asks, does this have anything to do with why you're always involved with me? Dud is startled by her insight. I'm aware of the Tristan family curse, she says seriously. Yes, I'm talking about the curse that turns all members of the Tristan bloodline into deranged individuals. Isn't the only way to prevent it through mental training? With a grave expression, she continues, do you know the real solution? Dud nods. The angel's blessing. A miracle where two archangels grant their blessing to a single person, or so the legend says. Exactly, Elnor says. That's why, despite the accomplishments of the Tristan household, we're still feared. So I want to know, how are you able to stay close to me? Why are you always around when someone tries to assassinate me? She looks him in the eye. What are your intentions, Dud? Dud answers honestly. The thing I want to protect is you. Elnor's eyes widen slightly. And what am I to you, that you want to protect me? Dud responds. If I don't protect you, I'll die. Elnor is silent for a moment, digesting his words. Then she replies, I knew it from the start. You really are a strange man. I've been told that plenty of times, Dud says with a faint smile. He thinks to himself, I told her everything, with no lies. I hope that's enough to satisfy her curiosity. The scene shifts to Elia, who is walking with Dud's clone. She wonders if Dud is mad at her. He hasn't said much. As they move along, she says. How did we end up in the basement? The clone remains silent. Elia thinks, I need to get closer to Dud. I have to learn more about the Tristan family, but I'm not sure how to deal with guys like him. Looking around, she thinks, what is this place? Noticing the monsters around them, she remarks, it looks like these monsters are being used for academy research. She frowns. The professors are so irresponsible. How can they leave monsters like this in the basement? Looking more closely, she realizes some of the creatures are massive, and worse, they're not even restrained. Suddenly, a massive explosion shakes the area. Dud's clone lunges forward and shields Elia from the blast. Outside, the real Dud and Elnor are also shaken as the entire building begins to tremble. Shocked, Elia exclaims, why did you just jump in like that? Dud's clone replies calmly, it's my job. Surprised, Elia asks, what do you mean, it's your job? At that moment, the monsters break free from their cages, standing ominously before Elia. She grips her weapon and says, thank you for saving me. Now it's my turn to protect you. Suddenly, a new quest window appeared, stating that monsters had been released and Dud must resolve the situation. If too many people died, he would receive a severe penalty for the scenario. The reward for completing the quest was exclusive equipment materials. Without wasting a moment, Dud rushed toward the basement. Turning to Elnor, he said, I have something I need to do. Please find one of the priests. Elnor tried to stop him, but Dud insisted, please listen. We need to protect the students. The scene shifts to the basement, where Elia is facing the monsters alone and visibly exhausted. Dud, having retrieved his clone, rushes to her side and asks if these are all the monsters that escaped. Elia, relieved to see him conscious, nods. A system window appears. Elia's affection level has increased. Curiosity, interest. Another notification follows. Main scenario updated. Elia informs Dud that she missed one of the larger monsters. Dud immediately thinks it must be the bear-type monster from earlier. Elia says it should still be somewhere on the first floor, and they should be able to stop it quickly. Fatigued, she adds that she needs to take a short break. Concerned, Dud asks if she's all right. But internally, he reminds himself that the main scenario takes priority. Failure would result in a heavy penalty, something he cannot allow. The scene shifts again to the main hall. Students panic as a massive bear monster enters. One of the professors erects a barrier and instructs the students to ensure it doesn't break. We just need to hold on until the professors and knights arrive, he says. The barrier begins to crack. A nearby priest reports that neither the Chancellor nor Professor Conrad are present, and despite the situation, they cannot invoke the angel's blessing. Hearing this, Elnor exclaims, there are students here. We must do whatever we can to protect them. The priest frowns. Those are harsh words to direct at a professor. A high-level barrier like the angel's blessing isn't something just anyone can use. The knights will be here soon. We should wait. He continues, this is why I oppose the academy granting those monster rights to the Tristan family. They should never have been allowed to manage such creatures. Elnor clenches her fists in anger. Just then, Dud steps forward. I'll take care of it, he declares. Both Elnor and the priest are stunned. You're just a student, the priest says. Do you even know what a blessing is? Dud doesn't reply. He charges forward. A system window appears. Ultima of Divinity has been combined with Priest's Rosary. New skills unlocked. Asceticism and Holy Shield. Another window follows. Dangerous situation detected. Desperate survival activated. EX rank. As the bear monster lunges at him, Dud narrowly evades the first strike. A professor nearby sees this and shouts, "Why aren't you running?" Dud responds, "I'll buy us some time. Get the students out of here." The monster attacks again. Another window appears. Asceticism activated. All additional stats converted into Constitution. Dud casts Holy Shield and successfully blocks the monster's powerful strike using divine energy. Everyone watches in disbelief. The crowd murmurs. He's using the angel's blessing. The bear monster continues its assault, but Dud holds strong, repelling the blows with the holy barrier. Elnor, stunned, wonders how a mere student could wield such divine power. The priest is equally shocked. Priests spend years in rigorous prayer to summon that blessing. After everything I've seen, I'm not even surprised anymore, Elnor thinks. He's always been hiding his full potential. The priest growls in frustration. Why can't that monster break through a simple barrier? Suddenly, Elia appears and knocks the priest aside. Forgive me, President Elnor, she says. But this priest is completely useless. Elnor asks, what took you so long? I passed out in the basement, Elia replies. I just woke up and came straight here. Still catching her breath, she adds, forget the priest. How is Dud using the angel's blessing like this? He's not even a priest. Even battle priests train for at least 10 years to use that. She shakes her head. I don't get it. Elnor reflects quietly. Holy energy that normally requires a decade of training. Then she recalls Dud once telling her, there's something I want to learn in the theology department. If I don't protect you, I'll die? I have no other reason. Back in the present, Elia tells Elnor, even if it's a stored blessing, there should be a limit to how much of it he can control. She narrows her eyes. It must be nice for you, Elnor. Surprised, Elnor asks, what do you mean? Elia looks her in the eye. Dud is doing all this for the Tristan family. For you. There's no other reason he'd go this far. Elnor thinks to herself, I've had this feeling for a while now, but no matter how much I see, Dud remains an enigma. As Dud was being pushed back by the bear monster, everyone was shocked to see Elnor activate her aura and charge straight toward the beast. With a powerful strike, she sent the monster flying into the wall. Dud watched in surprise, but the bear quickly got back up and charged directly at Elnor to counterattack. Elnor braced herself. From her stance, Dud realized she was about to use the true Tristan sword technique. As Elnor unleashed her most powerful strike, the monster managed to endure it, though just barely. Without hesitation, she followed up with another technique, landing a clean blow and finally bringing the beast down. Watching this, Dud thought to himself that Elnor's technique was on a completely different level compared to his copied version. He couldn't understand it. This wasn't supposed to happen. In the original story, Elnor never got involved in these events. A system window appeared, monster subjugation complete. Casualties, 0, knight's arrival in 30 seconds. Dud reflected on the professors who had supported the decision to give the Tristan family control over those monsters. If Elnor had now stepped in personally, it could be interpreted as her accepting the failures of her family. But Elnor was never one to play political games. So why was she helping him? Dud couldn't figure it out, but he decided to focus on finishing the quest first. He could analyze her actions later. Elia began guiding the students out of the area. Elnor asked if everyone was safe. Elia nodded. Yes, all the students got out. Elnor turned to Dud. It's over. But before she could finish speaking, the bear monster rose again and lunged at her from behind. Dud shouted a warning, and before Elnor could even turn around, Dud acted, activating the angel's blessing once more to block the strike. The blessing held, but the strain proved too much. Moments later, Dud collapsed. The scene shifts to a quiet room. Dud slowly wakes up. Chancellor Atlanti is seated beside him. I'm glad to see you're awake, she says. Dud immediately asks, what about the monster? What about Elnor? The monster has been defeated, Atlanti replies. Elnor is safe. And yes, all the students are unharmed. She smiles. Surprised to see me visiting? Dud responds politely, not at all. I'm fine. But internally, Dud is stunned. Atlanti swan song. The immortal who's lived for 1,000 years. Why would someone like her visit me? Maybe it was because he used the angel's blessing? Atlanti speaks again. I'm here to share two things, some bad news, and some even worse news. Which do you want to hear first? Dud blinks. What's the bad news? Atlanti folds her arms. You're receiving more attention than any academy student has ever gotten. There hasn't been a single student in history who's been involved in as many accidents and incidents as you. She leans forward slightly. And from my experience, with your luck, I suspect this won't be the last time. You'll likely continue getting caught in the crossfire of misfortune. Dud sighs internally. It's not like I wanted any of this to happen. Atlanti's expression turns serious. Now, the other bad news, she says. Tell me, how much do you know about the demon? Seeing Dud's expression, Atlanti remarks. That's an interesting reaction. You don't seem even slightly worried, despite the president of the academy bringing up the topic. Dud replies calmly. I don't think I should reveal how much I actually know. If I did, I have no idea what you might be scheming. With a slight smile, Atlanti asks, scheming? What do you mean by that? Dud responds, I'm the only one who hasn't been assigned a class yet. I can't even attend regular lectures. Atlanti nods. I can tell the situation annoys you. She leans closer and continues. Thanks to the recent events, I've had to do some damage control. You may not be aware, but the current hegemony has little real control over society. The timing is unfortunate for them, and they're willing to do anything to recruit talent, even if it means dragging them up from the depths of hell. Dud replies, the coup d'etat within the tribal association, the restructuring of the Holy Empire, and the appointment of a new successor to the throne. Aren't those the reasons behind everything that's been happening? Atlanti raises her brows, impressed. You're absolutely right. The so-called Golden Triangle may appear to be peaceful neighbors, but beneath the surface, they're fiercely competing to secure the greatest talents. That rivalry is still ongoing as we speak. Most students wouldn't concern themselves with such things. That's correct, Dud says. And because of that, the entire continent is feeling the effects. Elfanti, the tribal association, the Holy Empire, all the events I've been involved in should have drawn their attention. And yet, they've made no move. That only makes sense if someone is deliberately restricting the flow of information. Atlanti thinks to herself, he's politically sharp too. So, Dud continues, it would be dangerous if I caught their attention, wouldn't it? Atlanti replies, yes, and the world will end. Dud is stunned by the gravity of her words. Then Atlanti presents a seal. Are you familiar with this? Dud's eyes widen. It's the seal of the purifiers. This is why I asked about demons, Atlanti explains. Seeing Dud's reaction, she realizes he already knows. The Purifiers, an underground, demon-worshipping organization, move in the shadows. Their sole goal is to summon demons and bring about the world's destruction. Both Elnor's failed assassination attempt and the monster escape incident are suspected to be their work. In both cases, their target was the Tristan family. There's no guarantee it won't happen again, Atlanti warns. Dud asks, why are you telling me all of this? I can't tell you why, she replies, but I can give you this. She hands Dud a strange object. This is an interdimensional key, a balance-breaking item that opens doors to other worlds. As Dud takes the key, his expression reveals he recognizes it. Atlanti smirks. You know what it is, don't you? Take care of it. Show me your progress. If I like what you bring to the table, I might even offer a few additional gifts. She adds, this conversation stays between us. Dud nods. Of course. Atlanti then asks, how are things with the warrior candidate and the Lady of Tristan? Dud frowns. Why does she have to ask that? They're doing fine, he answers. Atlanti replies, good. I hope they stay that way. Dud tilts his head. Why? Is there a reason I need to keep it that way? Atlanti answers without hesitation. Yes, because if you don't, the world will end. Dud sighs. Why does the world end so easily around here? Atlanti smiles softly. I'm not lying. She thinks to herself, the final goal of my plan can only be achieved through those three. The scene shifts to later that day. Reflecting on his conversation with Atlanti, Dud decides to process it later. I never thought she'd give me something like that. It should have been impossible for the player to obtain this item. Something must be wrong with the main scenario. At that moment, Professor Conrad enters the room. I've been looking for you, he says. Dud asks why. Conrad replies, even if you haven't been formally assigned a class yet, I can't let you keep skipping. This will be your temporary assignment. Starting tomorrow, you'll attend classes with the individuals listed here. He hands Dud a piece of paper. Dud reads it and is stunned. Elnor, class president. Elia, class vice president. And me? Wide-eyed, Dud thinks to himself, the end of the world really is near. The scene shifts to the classroom, where the instructor explains, the sword can be considered the most fundamental weapon in any combat situation. He continues, referencing an earlier discussion on battlefield obstacles. Suddenly, Elnor raises her hand and says, Professor, I have a question. The professor nods. What is it? Elnor responds, don't you think you're going too deep into theory right now? I don't believe this kind of information would be very useful in a real battle. The professor appears surprised by her question. Elnor continues, in actual combat, even a skilled knight can be taken down by a ranged weapon. The teacher nervously agrees. That's correct. Elnor adds, unless you intend to train to the extreme with the sword, it's essential to learn archery or throwing techniques to complement your skills. At this, Elia interjects, I see your point, but I actually agree with the professor. If someone can utilize their surroundings properly, a swordsman can dodge arrows or projectiles. And if the enemy gets close, they won't be fighting unarmed. Dud, sitting between Elia and Elnor, grows increasingly nervous as the two continue to argue. Elnor challenges, and what are you going to do to overcome the range disadvantage when the terrain doesn't help you? Elia fires back, isn't that the whole point of this close-quarters combat lecture? Elnor retorts, I'm sure you understand there's a huge difference between theory and reality. As the debate escalates, Dud becomes visibly uncomfortable. Elia snaps, the lecture is up to the professor. If you're being forced to attend, then maybe just stay quiet? Irritated, Elnor replies, as student president, it's my duty to be aware of the quality of education our fellow students are receiving. Elia shoots back, then stop interrupting the professor. Why do you keep getting involved? The professor, sensing the rising tension, suggests, shall we end class here for today? But the two continue arguing. I can't believe you think these theoretical ideas will work in actual combat, Elnor says. At the very least, Elia retorts, they're more useful than listening to you. You really can't tell the difference between advice and an insult, can you? Elnor snaps. At this point, Dud speaks up. Can we just continue with the lecture, please? Elnor sits down quietly. Elia, smiling, declares, victory. I knew Dud would be on my side. Elnor sighs. This is just one loss. She then turns to the professor. Please continue. Dud thinks to himself, because of their constant arguing, now the whole class is staring at us. And I'm stuck sitting between the warrior candidate and the family heir. Just then, a system window appears. Dud quickly focuses on it to distract himself. Elnor's trust level has reached level 5. Affection level 1. Reward ready to be claimed. Dud lights up. The reward, Tristan's sword technique. Basic proficiency increased to 58%. This skill can now be effectively used with any weapon. Additionally, breathing technique unlocked. Extends durability and stamina of the physical body to its limits. Highly compatible with the Tristan sword style. Dud thinks, these two skills enhance each other. With physical buffs like this, it's the perfect combination. Only Elnor could use it this effectively. He remembers this is why Elnor becomes the final boss, her monstrous close-quarters combat ability. Another window appears. Elia's curiosity level has reached 5. Interest level 1. Reward ready to be claimed. The reward, rule of evil, exert influence over good-aligned individuals associated with the user. These individuals must accept one request from the user. Another message follows. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Higher affection levels with good individuals yield greater rewards. Turning a good individual to the bad side will result in even higher bonuses. Reading this, Dud wonders, what does this even mean? The scene shifts to a forest clearing, where Professor Conrad welcomes the students. Welcome to Survival 101, he says. Today, you'll be practicing essential survival skills. If you don't want to die in a dungeon or ruin someday, learning this is crucial. He continues, what you'll be doing today is simple. Enter the forest and bring back anything you think I would like. You have 10 minutes. A student raises a hand. There's no rubric for scoring? Nope, Conrad replies. Scoring is up to me and the student president. Good luck. Hearing this, Elnor frowns. Another student shouts, Professor, this is too vague. Conrad shrugs. Life is vague. You'll get used to it. The challenge starts in 5 minutes. Elia smiles in anticipation, while Dud sits alone, deep in thought. What does the system mean by keeping my friends closer and my enemies closer? He wonders. And how am I supposed to make good people turn bad? Just then, Elia approaches Dud and asks, want to team up? Dud replies, Elia, you should work with your friends. Elia smiles and responds, but you're my friend too, Dud. So why don't we work together? Nearby, a female priest watches them with a sharp, disapproving gaze. Elia notices Dud's expression and asks, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Dud shakes his head. It's nothing. It's just, we're not even that close. Elia's smile fades, and her mood shifts. That's unfortunate, she says quietly, then turns and walks away. The female priest approaches Elia and asks if she's okay. Elia forces a smile. I'm fine. Watching her walk off, Dud wonders if he was too harsh. Elia definitely looked upset. Moments later, a student named Talion Armand approaches Dud and asks, "What's your relationship with the warrior candidate?" Dud immediately recognizes him. Talion Armand, the second most skilled student in the class after Elia. He later becomes a mid-boss in Chapter 1. Dud frowns slightly, sensing something off. "We just happen to know each other," he answers. Talion, clearly irritated, snaps, "Someone like Elia has no reason to associate with someone like you." At that moment, a system window appears. Rule of evil. A good individual has been enraged due to your influence. Talion continues, "There are plenty of rumors about your shady win during the duel. Why do you keep trying to get close to Elia?" Seeing the system update, Dud realizes he has fulfilled the temperament condition of making a good individual angry. This might be useful, he thinks. Since Talion becomes a mid-boss, maybe I can leverage this and activate Rule of Evil again later. Standing up with a serious expression, Dud looks Talion in the eye and says, "The duel wasn't a sham. But maybe you wish it was. Maybe watching your goal get crushed in a single strike made you realize the gap between us." Talion's face twists in anger. Unbeknownst to them, Elia is standing nearby, and she's overheard everything. Frustrated, Talion turns to Dud and says, "Why don't we make a bet? Whoever scores higher on this assignment wins." "How about that?" Dud smiles, thinking to himself, "Perfect." The scene shifts to Elnor, where Professor Conrad says, "I asked you to help score the students. Aren't you taking this too lightly?" Elnor responds calmly, "I've been serious the whole time." "Really?" Conrad raises an eyebrow. "Then explain to me why Dud Campbell already has a max score, when he hasn't even submitted his assignment yet." Elnor answers, "Because he deserves it." Conrad questions, "And why do you say that?" "It seems you're not satisfied with the score I gave," Elnor says, folding her arms. "Try looking at it from my perspective," Conrad replies. "In that case," Elnor says, "why don't I observe Dud directly and justify my assessment? Then you'll see why I think he deserves the max score." She turns to leave, but Conrad stops her. "You're trying to stay close to Dud, aren't you?" Surprised, Elnor quickly replies, "Of course not. I just don't want him alone with the warrior candidate. Who knows what might happen between them? That's why I'd like your permission to check on them." Conrad shakes his head. "I may not allow you to participate, but I can still kick you out." "How's that?" Elnor falls silent. Meanwhile, on the other side of the forest, the female priest Trisha observes Elia, noting that something feels off about her today. A red-haired student comments, "All the strong monsters are gathered here. Is something nearby?" Another student replies, "Yeah, this area contains rare minerals. If we collect a few gems, we can avoid getting a low score." At that moment, Elia is seen fighting monsters alone. Trisha watches closely and sees dark emotions swirling around Elia. She may not show it, Trisha thinks, but Elia is angry. Trisha approaches and asks, "How have you been lately?" With a forced smile, Elia replies, "Not much going on recently." Even so, Trisha says gently, "If something's bothering you, I can help." "What are you talking about?" Elia replies, "Nothing's wrong." Trisha thinks, even if she says so, I'm worried her emotions might overwhelm her. She says aloud, "You don't have to hide it from me. I can tell something's bothering you." Elia sighs and sits down. "Was it that obvious?" "I can't lie to you, Trisha." Then she opens up. "It's Dud Campbell. He keeps distancing himself. All I wanted was to be friends with him." Trisha nods. "So that's what it is." Elia continues, "We've been through a lot together. I didn't think it was necessary to draw a line between us like that." Trisha says softly, "Maybe that's not his true intention." "What do you mean?" Elia asks. "Dud comes from a small barren family," Trisha explains. "If the warrior candidate is seen spending time with someone like him, people will start talking. I think he's trying to protect you in his own way." Elia, surprised, says, "So you're saying he's doing this for my sake?" "Yes," Trisha confirms. "Dud might be worried about causing unnecessary misunderstandings. Until he builds up his reputation, he'll probably keep his distance. But I'm sure he values you as a friend." Elia looks thoughtful. "I see." Meanwhile, Dud is running from something. A system window appears. Talion's rage is reaching its maximum limit. Lasting shame inflicted. Rule of evil. Activation reward earned. One command unlocked. Talion, filled with fury, chases after Dud. Suddenly, he begins attacking with his spear. Dud narrowly dodges while sprinting through the forest. Stop running and fight me like a man. Talion shouts, why do you keep stealing the final hits after I've done most of the work? Dud stops and says, all right, how about we split the rewards in half? Infuriated, Talion thrusts his spear at him again. Dud quickly retreats. Gathering his aura, Talion activates his technique, Mille Éclair, and hurls his spear at Dud with deadly force. But just before the spear lands, Elia appears and blocks the attack midair, shattering the weapon with her sword. Furious, she turns to Talion and says coldly, keep your hands off my friend. Talion is surprised to see Elia. It's been a while, he says. I think this is the first time we've seen each other since the monster escape incident. Elia closes the distance between them in an instant. You're wrong, she says coldly. This is the first time since you lost to me. Shocked and frustrated, Dud wonders where Elia even came from. Laughing nervously, Talion responds, well, it's good to see you too. Elia narrows her eyes. What were you just doing to Dud? Don't tell me you were bothering him. No. Talion begins, but before he can finish, Elia kicks him, sending him to the ground. I don't want to hear your excuses, Elia snaps. Cautiously, Talion stammers, I understand. But why do you keep defending him? Someone as skilled as you. That's none of your business. Elia cuts him off. Who I associate with is my decision. Dud tries to step in to calm her down, but Elia continues, I hate people who think they're better than others and lash out when they're not. Flustered, Talion shouts, Dud's lying to all of us. He's doing this to teach us a lesson. Dud's eyes widen in shock. He actually noticed? Talion goes on. Still, Dud's not someone who'd do something cruel without a reason. Angrily, Elia asks, do you want to get knocked out in one hit again? Talion pales. Wait, that was really Dud? I could have died back then. Lowering his head, Talion apologizes. I'm sorry, Dud. I promise I won't approach you again without permission. Elia, satisfied, replies, good. Let's try to get along. Then, without saying a word to Dud, she walks away. Watching her leave, Dud thinks, as expected of the warrior candidate, she really knows how to put people in their place. He wonders whether they're still friends. For now, he decides, I guess we still are. Shaking his head, Dud reminds himself to get his assignment graded. Soon after, he runs into Trisha, who introduces herself. Dud recalls that she's Elia's friend. I have something I want to ask, Trisha begins. Dud thinks to himself, in both the original story and now, she always drags out her conversations. This might sound intrusive, Trisha says, but Elia. Before she can finish, Dud cuts her off. Let me get my score first. Trisha sighs. Okay. In her mind, Trisha thinks, Dud made Elia fight with Talion. Normally, she would have talked things out. For her to draw her sword like that, it must be because of him. When Dud reaches Professor Conrad and Elnor, he's shocked to find them in the middle of a scuffle. And of course, Elnor is lying on the ground while Conrad sits, seemingly unfazed. The student president insisted on entering the forest, Conrad explains. So I told her she'd have to get past me first. I won. Dud stares, stunned. This school is insane. Conrad nods toward Elnor. She's improved a lot. Hey, stop playing dead. Elnor stays silent. I'm here to get my score, Dud announces. Conrad eyes the pile of resources Dud presents. Why did you bring so much? Dud shrugs. I wanted to be sure I picked the best ingredients. Conrad grins. It's perfect. You're in first place. I'm pretty sure Professor Percy would love these if you gave them to her. He adds, you already have the wish agreement. Why not earn some brownie points? I'll be sure to do that, Dud replies. Just then, Trisha arrives. Are you done? She asks. Conrad claps his hands. Class dismissed. You're all free to go. He turns to Trisha. Take care of Elnor. Of course, she responds. Before Dud can leave, Trisha says, please take care of Elia. But don't be too nice to her. Whenever she talks about you, she completely loses her composure. I'm afraid it might get worse. Dud nods. I'm grateful for the warning, but also kind of terrified. It's fine, he assures her. Don't worry. I'll do my best. With that, Dud walks away. Trisha then kneels beside Elnor and begins healing her. Trisha thinks to herself that Dud better tread carefully if he wants to make it out of all this in one piece. Elia may not be aware, but Trisha is. Elia could easily cross the line if pushed too far. The scene shifts to the spellcraft department, where Dud approaches Professor Percy. "I'd like to use my one wish," he says. "Already?" Percy raises an eyebrow. "Yes," Dud confirms. "There's something I need from you, the goddess of spellcraft." Percy sighs. "Cut the flattery. I can't handle anything complicated right now." Dud replies. "It's not like you'll be the only one working to fulfill my request." Percy retorts. "No one would need to work at all if you just didn't use your wish in the first place." Dud thinks to himself, "In order to survive the upcoming Purifier boss fight, I need to be fully prepared for anything." Percy then says, "Chancellor Atlanti asked me to assist you however I can. As long as your wish doesn't have malicious intent, I'll help." "So," she continues, "what exactly do you want?" Before Dud can answer, a system window appears. "Elia's gift reward. You've received 500 points and 1 seed of evil. This may be exchanged for special skills in the point store." Purchasable skills updated. Elia, negative seal, 1 stack. Rule of evil, usable once. Talion Armand, negative seal, 1 stack. Rule of evil, usable once. Dud reads the prompt and thinks, the effects of special skills are far more valuable than any item. This is good for now, but there's still more I need to prepare. Dud Campbell is still too weak to handle the varied attack patterns of the purifiers. Which is why I need a cannon, Dud says to Percy. A cannon that could blow away the entire academy. Percy stares at him, stunned. Upon hearing this, Percy inquired if Dud had lost his mind. Making the cannon was one thing, but where did Dud plan on using it? Dud then told Professor Percy to wait, and showed her a document stating that she was required to fulfill any ordinary requests, emphasizing that something as simple as this should be easy for the Dean of Spellcraft. Frustrated, Percy remarked that what Dud was asking for wasn't an ordinary request, it was a weapon. Dud replied that a promise was a promise, wasn't it? He further explained that he wouldn't use the cannon to harm anyone. Rather, he had something specific he needed to take down with one strike, before it became troublesome. Hearing this, Professor Percy admitted that it made her even more nervous. She sighed and finally relented, saying, "All right, I'm sure you have your reasons. And since you did help with the monsters recently, I'll make you that cannon." Dud thanked her, and Percy muttered that she couldn't believe the Chancellor, who genuinely believed Dud would save the world. Hearing this, Dud asked what she meant by that. Stunned, Percy realized she had been talking to herself and lost track of the conversation. Flustered, she blamed it all on Dud. He told her to calm down, explaining that he had been promised something else along with his wish. Percy, intrigued, asked what that was. Dud revealed that she had promised both Elia and himself one item from the Vision Warehouse. Dud then inquired if he could ask Professor Percy to fulfill that promise now. A few moments later, the scene shifted to Dud walking down a corridor. He thought to himself that he had secured permission for the cannon, and now all he needed to do was gather the materials to build it. Professor Percy had given him a list of required materials that could be obtained using the interdimensional key. For now, everything seemed to be going according to plan. At that moment, a man, who appeared to be a noble, approached and asked, "Is your name Dud Campbell?" Dud replied, "Yes." The man commented on what a coincidence it was to meet him here, then introduced himself as Galdera Riverback. Galdera mentioned that he operated the charity foundation, Purifying House. Hearing this, Dud thought to himself what a joke it was, recognizing it as a scheme for laundering money. Galdera was, after all, the final chapter boss, the Purifier, and the leader of the Fury Fire. Galdera handed Dud a card, stating that he had heard rumors of Dud's bravery in stopping an escaped monster on his own, something that ordinary people couldn't accomplish. He expressed that he found it truly impressive. Dud accepted the card and replied, "Is that so?" Galdera added that whenever he saw an extraordinary student like Dud, he couldn't help but be curious about their future. He then said he would love to have dinner with Dud if he were free, and that he also looked forward to having a conversation with him. Dud replied that the current conversation was more than enough for now. Internally, he reflected on how this seemed just like the original story. Galdera was supposed to approach Elia and bother her, not him. Dud wondered why Galdera was suddenly showing interest in him. Perhaps the system recognized him as the main character, though he couldn't believe that to be true. He told Galdera that he would think about it. Galdera, unfazed, declared, 3 days from now, I'll see you at the Eyes of Twilight. referring to a high-end restaurant just outside the academy. Galdera said he would be waiting for him. As Dud left, he noticed that the card Galdera had given him had begun to shine brightly. Seeing this, Dud thought to himself that, in reality, there was no way he could avoid this main event. He told Galdera, "All right, I'll go." In his mind, Dud reflected that, just like before, everything boiled down to a yes or no. What could he do? What did he know? What didn't he know? Weighing the factors and risks involved, Dud concluded that, if he considered everything in this situation, defeating the purifier wasn't impossible. However, he was still uncertain why he needed to fulfill Elia's role. Perhaps he had already made a mistake from the start. But right now, Dud decided to focus on what was in front of him and leave the rest for later. Then we see Dud knocking on a door. He called out, "Elnor, are you there?" Inside her room, Elnor heard his voice and inquired, "What are you doing here, Dud?" He replied, "There's no need to come out. I just have something simple I wanted to talk to you about." Elnor told him to go ahead and tell her. Dud asked, "By any chance, do you have some free time in 3 days?" At that moment, inside Elnor's room, her friend entered and reminded her that she needed to return her books on time, noting that she hadn't even read them and had just let them gather dust. Elnor told her friend to keep quiet. Dud continued, "I was hoping you would have some time to come with me somewhere." Elnor responded, "With you? Just the two of us?" Dud nodded. "Yes." She asked, "Where are we going?" Dud replied, "There's a place called the Eyes of Twilight." Hearing this, Elnor's friend remarked that the place was known as a great date spot. Elnor immediately told her friend to keep quiet. Then she turned to Dud and asked, "Why are you asking me to go with you?" Dud answered, "I'll tell you when we meet on that day." Blushing, Elnor hesitated and asked softly, "Are you buying?" Then the scene shifted to a memory of Elia as a young girl, furious with her older brother because he had pushed her. Seeing Elia crying, her brother, named Calivan, immediately apologized. To cheer her up, Calivan told her that he had bought cookies from the Baron's house. Elia took the cookies and began eating. Calivan explained that thanks to the Baron, he might be promoted to apprentice knight right away. Curious, Elia asked what would happen after that. Calivan replied that he would leave for the battlefield, where he would experience new things, see the world, and perhaps even earn the title of guardian. Hearing this, Elia scoffed, "Keep dreaming. How can someone like you, who keeps bothering his little sister, become a guardian?" Calivan responded, "You never know. Is there a rule that says I have to stay exactly where I am in life?" Elia, worried, asked, "If you go to battle, will you die?" Calivan replied, "I could, if I'm unlucky. But I've always been pretty skilled, so I don't think that will happen." Frustrated, Elia snapped, "I hope you get unlucky and just leave me. You're always bothering me, making fun of me, never listening to mom and dad, and always fighting with that sword of yours." Smiling, Calivan said, "If I ever become a guardian, I'll always be there to protect you." At that moment, the scene shifted to the present. Elia awoke to the sound of knocking at her door. She opened it to find Dud, who apologized for his behavior earlier. Dud explained, "Since I'm from the countryside, I'm still not used to how things work here. Also, I'm sorry for what I said about us not being friends." He then revealed a small package, adding, "I brought these cookies from the kitchen. They're pretty good." Elia, taken aback, replied, "Why are you apologizing? That's so uncool of you. We're friends." Dud was surprised to hear this. Elia then told him to get some sleep and began closing the door. But before she could, Dud said, "Wait." With a bright smile, he continued, "I need your help. Can you come with me? It's urgent." Frustrated, Elia muttered under her breath, "Is this guy insane?" Meanwhile, the scene shifted to Elnor's room, where she was writing something at her desk. Her friend entered and said, "We've done everything we can with the teaching materials, and I'll double-check the fees from each of the clubs too. All that's left is the matter of the transfer students. Apparently, we're getting one from the Tribal Alliance." Her friend continued, "I'm pretty sure this transfer student is from the sect that collapsed due to the coup d'etat. She's the daughter of one of the tribal leaders, and they're basically exiles at this point. Quite a few of her aides will be coming with her as well. In reality, though, her entire family is seeking refuge here." The transfer student's name was Lilu Garuda. Elnor's friend asked if Elnor had heard of this name before, adding that Lilu Garuda was quite famous. Elnor replied, "Maybe. Her friend continued, mentioning that in the next semester, a real saintess from the Holy Empire would be arriving. Elnor asked, by herself. Her friend added that envoys would be accompanying Lulu as well, but judging by how things were being handled, the Chancellor might have pulled some strings behind the scenes. Elnor remarked, a saintess and the daughter of a tribal leader. This means the Academy is scheming something. I'm sure of it. Her friend responded, this place is always like that. Elnor suddenly recalled something and said, I forgot something. Her friend inquired, why are you so worried about it? It's not like you've only been here for a day or two. Elnor replied, it's just that I'm in a bad mood. Then the scene shifted to later that night, where Dud and Elia lay on a rooftop. Looking up at the sky, Dud commented, who would have thought there's an observation deck in the school? The sky's beautiful tonight. Elia, looking concerned, asked, do we really have to do this now? Dud replied, I have no choice. This is the only way to make everything fit perfectly. Just wait a little. Dud thought to himself that with the catapult he had secured from the warehouse, he should be able to reach there. Although it was an area accessible only to high-level users, Dud had the secret card given to him by the Chancellor. Elia inquired, what exactly do you plan to do in the middle of the night? As Dud pressed a button, they were suddenly launched into the air. Elia was stunned by the sudden movement. Dud called out, stay focused and keep your eyes open. This is the location of the interdimensional portal, and we'll be entering it soon. Don't worry. Hearing this and seeing Dud, Elia was reminded of her brother. However, as they entered the portal, Dud cautioned her. It might get a little dangerous. As they landed, Elia told Dud that they didn't have much time there. On the other hand, Dud was excited to see that they had entered the interdimensional realm. He cautioned Elia to try not to touch anything, as it might be dangerous. Then Dud leapt from one rock to another. Shocked, Elia asked, what are you doing? Dud replied, don't worry. Gravity here is unstable, and we need to go a little higher anyway. Elia asked, what are we looking for? Dud answered, you'll figure it out soon enough. First, you should jump. These rocks keep getting pushed back. Terrified, Elia exclaimed, are you crazy? What if we die? Dud reassured her, we won't die. Just jump. Trusting his words, Elia jumped, but instead of rising, she began falling toward the ground. At that moment, the scene shifted to a memory. Elia and her older brother were cornered as their house was attacked. Caliban told Elia, it's dangerous here. You need to run out the back door and head for the barn. Stunned, Elia asked, are we leaving Mom and Dad behind? Caliban replied, we have to leave. I'll take care of Mom and Dad. He warned her that if she happened to see any descendants of the apocalypse, she should just hide. Elia, her voice trembling, said, but what about you? I know Mom and Dad are dead. I'm not stupid. Now it's just the two of us. What am I supposed to do if you die too? I want to run away together with you. Caliban said firmly, if I go with you, we'll both be in danger. I'm a guardian, Elia. Don't think. Don't worry. Just run as far away as you can. Once you reach safety, I'll meet you on the hill where I always train. Elia remained silent until Caliban pressed, answer me. Crying, Elia replied, okay. Seeing her like this, Caliban comforted her, calm down. Everything will be all right. Now run. I'll be right behind you. The scene then shifted back to the present, where Dud grabbed Elia's hand and saved her from falling. Frustrated, Elia exclaimed, where's that gravity you talked about? Dud replied, you're falling really slowly right now. Annoyed, Elia snapped, you could have been clearer. I almost died. Dud calmly told her to relax and said she would get used to it soon. He urged her to look up, explaining, I found our target. Looking up, they saw the ghost of Gregory's pavilion. Dud became excited and told Elia, hold my bag. Surprised, Elia asked, what am I supposed to do with this bag? Dud explained, we'll need to run a bit, and we'll use the bag then. Hearing this, Elia asked, what do you mean by run? Dud pointed, can't you see it? Confused, Elia replied, it's just the sky. Suddenly, everything turned black, and a monster lunged at them. Dud warned her, this is a beast of the interdimensional realm. Stunned, Elia watched the creature approach. Dud said, looks like it's about time to leave. As they both jumped into the air, Dud told Elia, make sure to collect everything the beast releases. Though confused, Elia hurriedly tried to gather everything she could. Afterward, Dud grabbed Elia and the bag and rushed toward the exit. In an instant, they emerged from the interdimensional realm. Dud thought to himself, just as I calculated, the timing of the card's effect worked perfectly. He then asked Elia, "Are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere?" Frustrated, Elia pushed his hand away and said angrily, "You didn't tell me any of this. Did you plan everything from the start, even the part about running away?" Dud replied, "Of course. It all went according to plan." He thought to himself, early farming for the ghost of Gregory is a pretty easy tactic for an experienced player like me. Elia asked why Dud hadn't told her they would be heading to the interdimensional realm. Dud replied that he thought Elia wouldn't follow him if she knew. Elia handed Dud the bag, saying she had made sure to fill it and couldn't believe he had woken her up for this. Dud thanked her and apologized for not telling her sooner, apologizing again. Then, a window appeared stating that Elia's affection had rapidly increased and her interest had risen to level 4. Seeing this, Dud didn't understand why her affection level had gone up. Elia, smiling, left the scene. The scene then shifted to the Chancellor, who was surprised by what Dud had brought with him. Dud explained that he wasn't sure what the Chancellor thought it was, but it was a psychic entity. Hearing this, the Chancellor replied, "So, you entered the interdimensional realm?" Dud nodded. "Yes. Isn't that why you gave me the card?" The Chancellor admitted that she hadn't expected him to use the card so soon. More importantly, she asked, "What happened to your hair?" Dud explained, "Dean Percy used one of her spells on me." The Chancellor remarked that the magic department was in the process of delivering the ectoplasm they had retrieved from the interdimensional realm. A spiritual entity, she mused. Percy must have been quite surprised. Despite being a witch, she's quite a scaredy cat. Dud asked, "Is this much enough?" The Chancellor asked what he meant. Dud reminded her, "You said you would give me another present if I managed to impress you." The Chancellor replied, "The magic tower would spend a fortune to get their hands on this. So why not take it yourself?" Dud responded, "Rather than a present, I have a request. Psychic entities are the consciousnesses of great people with incredible achievements. I'd like you to grant me an item with one." Hearing this, the Chancellor replied, "If I do that, the consciousness within it will slowly awaken and grow stronger. I find your decision forward-thinking, and in my opinion, you're making the right choice." Just as Dud was about to tell her the specific item, the Chancellor interrupted. "Before that, I have a question," she said. "Why are you doing this? You took down an assassin without any equipment, defeated a warrior candidate with a single strike, and recently held back monsters as well. So why are you so focused on getting stronger?" Dud thought to himself, "That's because the bosses in the main story are demon-level threats. The end of this story involves Elnor and Elia, and I've already gotten involved with both of them." That's what he wanted to say, but instead, he said aloud, "I also have a question. Why do you favor me so much?" The Chancellor asked, "What do you mean by that?" Dud replied, "I'm sure you have many things you'd like to ask me. How I knew the location of the interdimensional realm, how I knew about psychic entities, how I defeated Elia, and how I stopped the monster. I know things that no normal student should know. Not to mention, I'm just a freshman, yet it feels like the academy has started revolving around me. I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but I truly feel that my studies and daily life have been completely influenced by you. So, I'm wondering, what exactly are you going to ask me to do in exchange for showing me so much favor?" The Chancellor replied, "Speaking to me that way, Student Dud, I don't quite approve of your tone. However, I see that you are well aware of the situation. After all, why is it that I'm giving you such special treatment?" The truth was that maybe it was simply because the Chancellor found Dud cute. Hearing this, Dud thought to himself, "Since I'm not telling the Chancellor everything, why would she tell me anything?" Still, the Chancellor agreed to help Dud obtain an item with a psychic entity. If Dud could raise the synchronization rate, the psychic entity would awaken. If he continued nurturing it, it would become incredibly helpful from Chapter 2 onward. Before that, though, Dud needed to complete the main quest, Chapter 1, Purifier. The scene shifted to later that night, where a window appeared, stating that an incident would occur at the Eyes of Twilight. Dud thought, "I need to finish the quest first," as he moved forward and saw Elnor. Dud asked, "Did I make you wait?" Elnor replied, "No, I didn't wait too long, just about 6 hours." Seeing Elnor looking so beautiful and elegant, Dud remarked, "Somehow, You look completely different from the freshman reception ceremony." Internally, Dud was taken aback by the realization that Elnor had been waiting for 6 hours, meaning she had arrived even before sunset. Elnor explained, "It's my first time coming to a place like this in a while, so I found a spot nearby and got ready." Hearing this, Dud thought, Elnor is way too thorough. Elnor continued, "This is your first time outside the school, right?" Dud replied, "Yes, it is." Elnor asked, "Then why won't you look me in the eye?" Dud thought, "That's because it's my first time being with a girl off campus. Honestly, this isn't like the freshman reception at all. This is a date." Elnor grabbed Dud's hand and told him to let go, saying, "The line is too long." Seeing the gathered crowd, Dud thought, "The eyes of twilight. It's just as crowded as I thought it would be." He voiced his concern, "Will we even be able to get inside?" At that moment, the restaurant staff called for customer number 27, but since they had canceled, they called for number 28. Dud noticed that it was Talion and asked, "What are you doing here, Talion?" Talion replied, "I'm working part-time here. My family doesn't send me an allowance." Surprised, he added, "And the student council president is here with you too?" Talion then asked, "What's your relationship with the president? Are you two here together?" Dud thought, "Why am I with the president anyway? Isn't this a date?" Elnor stepped forward and told Talion, "May I enter by the authority of the student council president?" Talion replied, "Of course." At that moment, Dud noticed Talion was wearing a necklace. Talion confirmed, "Yes, I'm wearing one given to me by the Foundation of Purity, the one Marquis Riverback runs." Suddenly, a system window appeared, stating that the skill rule of evil, authority over target Talion, would be activated. At that moment, Dud told Talion, "Don't wear that necklace today." Talion was surprised, and Dud added, "Make sure to tell the other part-timers not to wear theirs either." Talion agreed, replying, "Okay." Dud thought to himself, after raising Elnor's and Elia's affection, the main story is changing. Now I need to shift Marquis Riverback's favor toward me. The chances of just getting to eat at this restaurant and leaving are zero, as the story has twisted this way. As they entered, they were met by Marquis Riverback, who greeted them, saying, "It's nice to meet Lady Tristan and student Dud." Dud thought, "I need to at least prepare for a counter." Then, a window appeared stating, "Main quest. Defeat the food cart possessed by an evil spirit and take down the slimes." Marquis Riverback told Elnor that he wanted to speak with Dud alone for a moment, as he had something to discuss. Elnor was surprised to hear this and said, "Who said you could just talk with Dud?" At that moment, Dud reassured her, "It's fine." Marquis Riverback then stated, "Lady Tristan will be guided to her room." Dud told Elnor, "This won't take long. Just wait a little while." Seeing this, Marquis Riverback commented, "It seems like you have a good relationship with Princess Tristan." As they sat down, Marquis Riverback asked, "Do you know why you've been called here?" Dud replied, "You're planning to revive a demon. During the Moon Festival, when security is weakened, you intend to kill many people, gather massive amounts of demonic energy, unleash monsters everywhere, and use assassins to eliminate knights, spreading chaos and fear. You'll then attempt to awaken the demon sleeping within Princess Tristan's lineage, right?" Marquis Riverback was stunned to hear this. Dud continued, "The assassination attempts and monster attacks were you're doing from the start. But here's the thing. I've already reported all of this to the headmaster, and the proper countermeasures have been taken. So what now?" Marquis Riverback couldn't believe what he was hearing. He now understood why the seer had taken a liking to this boy. Dud appeared harmless on the surface, but was far more cunning and perceptive than anyone else. Marquis realized Dud was not ordinary. "It's impressive," Marquis Riverback said. "But by now, my subordinates have already captured the princess. You couldn't have predicted that." At that moment, Elnor burst into the room, breaking down the door. Marquis Riverback was stunned to see the princess there. The scene shifted to moments earlier, when Marquis' subordinates had approached Elnor and told her to come with them, claiming they had to go somewhere. At that moment, Elnor heard the demon's voice telling her, "The Marquis' subordinates will storm in any minute now. About your mana, it's been rough lately. Even if not now, sometimes it's better to let it out." Elnor then stated, "According to Imperial law, it's acceptable to subdue demon followers before reporting the incident." One of the men questioned, "Are you capable of subduing us?" In response, Elnor released her aura and, with a single strike, took down the man. The other subordinates were shocked to witness this and charged at her with swords drawn. Drawing upon a small amount of the demon's power inside her, Elnor swiftly dispatched them one by one. Returning to the present, Marquis Riverback was incredulous at what had just happened. Dud asked Elnor, "Are you okay?" Elnor replied, "I do feel refreshed now." A window appeared stating, "Elnor's affection level has risen above fondness. Her mana has improved thanks to Dud." Elnor commented, "This doesn't feel like a proper date or social interaction at all. Let's go out together again next time." Another window appeared stating, "Special quest activated. Gideon La Tristan has taken an interest in Dud." Surprised, Dud wondered why Elnor's father was suddenly interested in him. Still, he figured that marked the end of the quest. At that moment, Marquis Riverback said, "I didn't think I would have to use even this," revealing a demon essence. Shocked, Dud couldn't believe Marquis was resorting to such a thing. Marquis consumed the essence, and suddenly, dark mana erupted from the restaurant. Dud stood up, shocked to witness Marquis Riverback transform into a demon. The Marquis smirked and said he hadn't planned to use this power until the messenger had been dealt with, Dud Campbell. Releasing a dark, suffocating aura, Marquis Riverback declared, "Let's see if you can handle my new power." He had become a demon who consumed the essence of the devil, allowing him to wield a portion of its might. Dud immediately recognized this from Chapter 1 of the novel. A notification window appeared before him. Defeat the Purifier. Failure will result in mass casualties. The Marquis raised his hand. "It's time for purification," he announced. Frustrated, Dud thought to himself that the real problem wasn't just Marquis Riverback, it was also the man-eaters. The demon worshippers that Elnor had once defeated had been resurrected and were now charging toward him. Just then, Talion unleashed one of his new techniques, a move he had learned directly from Dud, and took down several man-eaters. Dud, meanwhile, seemed lost in thought. In the next scene, Elnor stood beside Talion. Talion looked around in confusion and asked, "What's going on? What are these monsters? And where is Marquis Riverback?" He then added with a grin, "By the way, did Dud see my new move? I'd appreciate some feedback." Dud responded grimly, "These monsters, they're all your comrades. They've changed." Talion's eyes widened in shock. Dud continued, "If you had been wearing a necklace like theirs, you'd have ended up just like them." "Was this orchestrated by the Marquis?" Talion asked, alarmed. "Listen carefully, Talion," Dud said firmly. "If you want to survive, follow my lead." "I understand," Talion replied. "But what are you planning to do?" "I have to protect the civilians and stop the Marquis. There's something I must take care of first." Hearing this, Talion was impressed. Even in the middle of a disaster, Dud's strategic thinking is remarkable. Dud nodded. "Let's move." Talion charged ahead. Then Elnor asked Dud, "Do you know where the Marquis went?" "Yes," Dud answered. "I have a strong idea. The demon worshippers all share the same goal, to spread despair and chaos and summon their so-called holy land, Pandemonium, the land of demons. There's only one place I'm sure Marquis Riverback would head." Cut to Marquis Riverback, standing before a barrier. Observing it, he muttered, "Even in this form, I can't break through all the protective seals, but I can at least weaken them." He prepared a powerful spell and hurled it at the barrier. At that exact moment, Dud appeared. "Stop right there." Startled, the Marquis turned. "How did you find me? Are you a dragon?" Dud stepped forward. "Your actions are predictable. You gained the devil's power, and yet, you came straight to the place where evil is sealed." Now accompanied by Elnor, Dud stood firm. Seeing the princess, the Marquis grinned. "You've saved me the trouble of hunting her down. I'll kill you both and secure her." Dud turned to Elnor. "No matter what happens, we will survive." Elnor felt a rush of emotion. The level of trust Dud placed in her was overwhelming, but she knew she had to rise to meet it. That is the dignity of Tristan, she told herself. With newfound resolve, Elnor charged at the Marquis, and the two clashed in the air. Meanwhile, Dud sprinted in the opposite direction, heading to aid the chairman. Marquis Riverback spotted him and launched a barrage of dark magic, but Dud managed to dodge every strike with agility that surprised the Marquis. Seizing an opening, Elnor struck Marquis Riverback hard, sending him crashing toward the ground. As Dud continued running, Marquis Riverback screamed in frustration. Coward! Come back and fight me. Just then, Elnor descended and attempted another strike, but the Marquis unleashed his full demonic aura. The blast sent her flying, right toward the area where Dud had been running. Taking advantage of the distraction, Marquis Riverback activated a spell, Fangs of Darkness. A vicious, jagged wave of shadow magic surged through the air, aimed directly at Dud, who had no idea the attack was coming. As Dud saw the incoming attack, he quickly activated his divine shield. However, he was unable to fully dodge or block the strike. It landed directly, sending him crashing to the ground. Seeing this, Marquis Riverback burst into laughter. You're tougher than I expected, he sneered. But it looks like you've used up every last card you had, Dud. At that moment, Elnor stepped in front of Dud, shielding him. Stand up, she said firmly. I'll buy us some time. You need to move first. Watching Elnor protect Dud, Marquis Riverback chuckled. You're tenacious too, daughter of Tristan. The two of you make quite the couple. Meanwhile, Elnor thought to herself, I've always relied on Dud. Every time I was in danger, he was there. But now it's my turn to repay him. Dud, though visibly injured, noticed a system notification appear. Necklace of Vitality activated. Constitution and stamina increased. Drawing strength from within, Elnor began to release her aura. I'll believe in Dud until the very end, she declared. Marquis Riverback gave a mocking grin. This is almost enough to bring tears to my eyes. Are the lovebirds done with their little strategy meeting? Elnor narrowed her eyes. I have a question for you, Marquis. Tell me honestly. Tonight, in your eyes, do Dud and I suit each other? Caught off guard, Marquis Riverback responded, dreadfully so. Are you planning to make yourself a housewife after all this? Enraged by his sarcasm, Elnor unleashed her aura and charged at him. She struck him with a powerful kick, then followed up with a barrage of punches and kicks from every direction. Finally, she cast one of her high-level spells, Maxima Tramontana, and it landed directly. Marquis Riverback was knocked to the ground, slightly injured. He stood back up and smirked. Dud's already scurried away like a coward, he said mockingly. To Elnor's surprise, Marquis Riverback turned and rushed in the direction Dud had previously run. What else could he be hiding, he muttered. Elsewhere, Professor Conrad observed the scene. Looks like things are nearly settled here, he commented. Elia nodded. We were lucky, Professor Percy, and you were here. If even one of you hadn't come, this could have ended badly. Percy added, That's right. It's fortunate we arrived after Dud warned us. Conrad agreed. He only came here expecting to share a meal with Marquis Riverback. If the professors hadn't been present, it could have ended in disaster. Elia questioned, Could all of this really be coincidence? A frightening coincidence, Conrad replied. The scene shifted to Dud, who, though injured, appeared to be searching for something. He soon spotted it and said, Good thing Talion left this here. He picked up the item just as Elnor was thrown toward him, injured and exhausted. Marquis Riverback approached with a twisted grin. Elnor, you truly are relentless. Suddenly, he launched another attack at Dud, striking him directly. Elnor watched in horror. A system notification appeared. A deadly charm has been activated. To Dud's shock, Elnor began to change, her body now transforming into a demon. Simultaneously, the system issued emergency warnings. Dud realized that a portion of the system had been neutralized. His abilities were being stripped away. The cause was clear. The system was using Elnor as a medium to manifest a fragment of the Grey Devil. Then, another system window appeared. Fatal Allure activated. Easier to gain favor from those with evil tendencies. The more extreme the personality, the stronger the effect. Demon Elnor placed her hand on Dud's injury and cast a spell. Instantly, the wound healed, and a strange mark appeared on Dud's chest. A system window popped up. Stigma of the Fallen obtained. Special effects granted. Dud looked down, shocked to see his injury completely healed. As Demon Elnor smiled at him, Dud thought to himself, a top-tier being in this world's hierarchy. Acting this familiar feels strangely familiar. He didn't know how the future would change, but right now, he had to take what he needed. Another window appeared. Using skill copy token. Suddenly, Dud felt immense pressure radiating from Demon Elnor. He focused, knowing exactly which skill he needed, not just now, but for the battles to come. As he activated the token and copied the skill, Demon Elnor smiled again and began to fade. Before disappearing completely, she looked at him one last time. "I'll see you again, Dud." The scene shifted to the present. Marquis Riverback unleashed his most powerful magic spell toward Dud and Elnor. But to his shock, Dud dodged it effortlessly. Confused, Marquis Riverback scanned the area. Where did he go now? Before he could react, Dud appeared from behind and landed a powerful strike directly on the Marquis, slamming him into the ground. Still disoriented, Marquis Riverback struggled to understand what had just happened. Then Dud landed in front of him, and a system window appeared. Crisis situation detected. Threat level, lethal. Activating EX grade emergency protocol. Skill activated. King of Pandemonium. Dud began to transform. His body emitted a dark, overwhelming energy as he ascended into the form of a high-level demon. Another system window appeared. For the next 5 minutes, user gains overwhelming advantage against demon-type enemies. Marquis Riverback stared in disbelief. How? How are you able to transform into a demon? Dud, wasting no time, charged forward and delivered a crushing punch straight to the Marquis's face, sending him flying into a wall. Now fully transformed, Dud stood tall and radiated raw power. His eyes burned with intensity as he growled. Round 2. Bring it on. Shocked, Marquis Riverback muttered. The Forerunner didn't mention anything about this. He was visibly exhausted now, his body bruised and battered from Dud's relentless strikes. Frustration built inside him as he questioned why Dud was using an upgraded version of the very same ability he possessed. This is so unfair, he growled. A system window appeared. Black mist emits demonic energy drawn from the essence of a demon to amplify power. Blessing of the Black Soul, physical attributes enhanced. Fueled by desperation, Marquis Riverback launched himself at Dud with full force. Dud charged as well, and the two collided in a massive explosion of energy. As the dust settled, both were still standing. Wasting no time, Marquis Riverback attacked again, unleashing a powerful spell. Dud raised his hand and blocked it, this time using holy energy. The Marquis froze, stunned. You can use holy power too? Dud spotted an opening and landed a swift, punishing kick to the Marquis's face, sending him crashing into a nearby building. Without hesitation, Dud leapt into the air and landed in front of him. Just as Dud was about to strike again, the transformation duration expired, but he still had one final trump card, the cannon switch. He activated it, launching the item Talion had left for him earlier. Dud caught it midair and immediately triggered its function. Any last words, Marquis Riverback? Dud asked. The device unleashed a massive beam of concentrated mana, striking the Marquis directly. The explosion echoed through the city as Marquis Riverback was finally defeated. Later, Dud sat atop a building, catching his breath. A system window appeared. Main quest completed. Rewards: 1 Essence of Evil, 1 Hero's Fragment, 5,000 points. Dud blinked in confusion. Why am I receiving so much? Normally, he would have been allowed to choose just one reward. Perhaps the rewards have been scaled based on the task's difficulty. Now, he had 2 new items capable of twisting the scenario, one of them being Elnor herself. At that moment, the Chancellor arrived and approached Dud. The Student Council President, Elnor, is safe, the Chancellor reported. More importantly, that was incredible, Dud. I'd like to hear everything, about what happened, and about the Grey Devil. Dud looked up, surprised to see the Chancellor in person. Dud asked, What do you mean, Chancellor? The Chancellor replied, I'm asking you because I already know. You got involved with the devil, didn't you? The scene shifted to Elnor, who was severely injured. Fortunately, a priest was able to heal her, and we see Elnor slowly opening her eyes. Back in the Chancellor's office, Dud explained that one of the Grey Devil's powers, erosion, had manifested extensively, centered right where he was. He added that the Holy Kingdom's Inquisition would undoubtedly take an interest. The Chancellor nodded. You've now become the eye of the storm, she said. Did you anticipate something this serious would happen? Dud thought to himself, I gave up living as a background extra a long time ago. In a situation like this, directly entangled with a devil, what choice did I have? Aloud, he answered, Honestly, I just got lucky. The Chancellor continued, The Grey Devil, strongest among the rulers of Pandemonium. Hearing this, Dud realized, as expected, the Chancellor was already using Student Council President Elnor as the Grey Devil's vessel. You already knew, didn't you? Dud asked. The Chancellor nodded. First of all, thank you. You fought for the school and protected Elnor. You can relax now, but listen carefully. What I'm about to say is highly confidential. Dud leaned back and rested his head on the Chancellor's lap. She continued. After the final battle of the last hero, the devil fragments scattered across the world. If even one of them manifests in this world, the others begin to gather around that person. Since the Grey Devil awakened, even if only briefly yesterday, the other fragments will begin to converge soon. Dud thought to himself, in the original story too, devil vessels always brought disaster. The Crimson Devil's vessel caused the Red Knight incident, a tragedy that wiped out Elia's entire family. These vessels and fragments are usually assigned randomly each playthrough, except for Elia and Elnor's. The Chancellor went on. The Holy Kingdom's intelligence network is formidable. They've already shortlisted potential vessel candidates. Elnor was one of them. I've been doing my best to gather them here at the school. Dud was impressed. Gathering the candidates like that, it's clever. But isn't it incredibly dangerous to bring them all together in one place? The Chancellor continued. There was once a case where a devil's vessel fell in love with someone. As a result, the devil's fragment inside them was completely destroyed. She paused, then added, The Grey Devil seems to like you, Dud. Shocked, Dud stammered. Not at all. The Chancellor smiled knowingly. I saw everything from afar. The Grey Devil healed your wound, clapped, and even looked happy. Maybe I looked pitiful, Dud muttered. Regardless of the reason, she said, that's the key. The devil is oddly friendly toward you, and your judgment, knowledge, and execution skills have long been proven. That's why I'm sincerely asking you. Please make the devil's vessel fall in love with you. Dud suddenly sat up. What do you mean by that? I'll do my best to support you, the Chancellor assured him. That's not the issue here, Dud exclaimed. Don't worry, she said lightly. Every known candidate so far is female. This is a golden opportunity. You even made the Grey Devil clap for you. Surely, you can charm the other devil vessels as well. Dud looked stunned, unable to process what he had just heard. The Chancellor pressed on. Use whatever means necessary. Make the devil's vessels fall in love with you, and destroy the fragments within them. If you succeed, the world will be saved. Then she bowed deeply. Please, Dud. Save humanity. Dud sighed. I think I know the answer already, but what if I fail to make the vessels fall in love with me? The Chancellor's voice turned grave. Then humanity will be destroyed. The world will crumble, and an evil empire ruled by devils will rise. Dud sat in silence, stunned. I hate the devil route, he thought bitterly. Elnor woke up and wondered, did we win against the Marquis? At that moment, she heard a commotion outside. Someone was saying, she came yesterday too, and even skipped class for this. Moments later, Elnor's friend entered the room, and was surprised to see Elnor awake. Smiling, Elnor teased, Did you skip class just to see me? Her friend rushed in and hugged her tightly. I thought you were going to die. Elnor gently told her to calm down, and then asked, What happened to Dud? Her friend replied, Dud's already been discharged. Elnor's eyes widened in surprise. He wasn't really hurt anyway, her friend continued. You were the one who got seriously injured. I honestly thought you weren't going to make it this time. Elnor looked stunned. I was that badly hurt, and Dud was fine. The scene shifted to the day before, when Dud came to visit Elnor. At the time, she had been unconscious for 2 days. Her friend, worried, had said, What if she doesn't wake up? Dud responded calmly, Don't worry. Elnor isn't someone who'd die from something like this. I guarantee she'll wake up in a few days. Her friend asked, How can you be so sure? Dud smiled. Because I'm still alive. And Elnor's the kind of person who'd risk her life to protect someone like me. The Tristan family is not weak. Back in the present, Elnor's friend smiled and said, So, do you have enough strength to hold a pen? Since you're awake, there's a lot of paperwork that needs your approval. Elnor groaned playfully. I'm still a patient, you know. Then her friend's tone shifted. Now it's time to give you some unsettling news. 2 major figures are coming to the academy. 2. Elnor asked. The first is Saint Lucien. Elnor frowned. Wasn't Lucien supposed to join next semester? Her friend nodded. He was, but not anymore. The Chancellor decided Lucian will be enrolling next week instead. Why the sudden change? Elnor asked. Because of an incident. The Holy Kingdom and the Inquisition have started to move. Elnor's friend hesitated before continuing. I wasn't going to mention the second person, but who is it? Elnor asked. Her friend took a breath. Sir Gideon. He's coming to the school soon. Elnor's eyes widened in shock. My father. The scene shifted to the next day, where Dud received a letter from his parents. The letter mentioned that they had heard the weather at the academy was especially hot, and they advised Dud to take care of his health. They had also sent some fruit for him to enjoy and share with his friends. Furthermore, Dud's parents wrote that a parent visitation event was scheduled soon. However, they were extremely busy preparing for the harvest, so it would be difficult for them to attend. Instead, they would send Hermann in their place. If Dud needed anything, he was to ask Hermann. They reassured him that everything was peaceful back in their hometown, so he shouldn't worry. They knew he was clever, so they weren't too concerned, but reminded him not to cause any trouble and to live quietly. As a final note, they added that if Dud happened to get a girlfriend, he should bring her home during vacation. Take care, the letter ended. After reading the letter, Dud felt relieved that his parents wouldn't be visiting. Later, Dud met with Hermann, who was more or less like his personal butler. Yes, Hermann said lazily. If young Master Dud has any orders, please tell me. Preferably very slowly. Dud raised an eyebrow. Aren't you being a little too openly lazy? Hermann handed him the fruit his father had sent from their estate. As other students saw Dud chatting with a personal servant, they became visibly annoyed. Seeing their reactions, Dud leaned toward Hermann and whispered, We need to act like we're friends here. Do we really have to? Hermann asked. Yes, Dud replied firmly. Just go with it. And eat these grapes while you're at it. Hermann reluctantly took a few grapes, grumbling to himself about how much of a bother this all was. Meanwhile, Dud's mind was far from relaxed. Now's not the time to enjoy any of this, he thought. What the Chancellor said was too shocking. I have to make the Devil's Vessel candidates fall in love with me to save humanity? He glanced at the system interface. Elnor Tristan, Favor Level 1. Curse Inheritance. Activation Quest Initiated. Gideon Tristan, Curiosity Level 1. Curse Inheritance. Activation Quest D7. World peace is at stake, Dud thought grimly. And I'm already anxious about these upcoming quests, and this isn't even the end. A new system window appeared. Main Quest, Chapter 2. The real problem is the boss fight. Objective: devise a plan to defeat the chapter boss. But I've never even met Gideon in the original story, Dud thought. What am I supposed to do? Hermann, seated beside him on the bench, casually remarked. It's way hotter here than back at the estate. Dud remained lost in thought. In the original story, Gideon was already dead by the time I appeared. He wasn't even close to Elnor, but a father is still a father. Originally, Gideon's death was the trigger for the Grey Devil's awakening. But in this timeline, the awakening already happened during the first boss fight. Everything is tangled up now. Just then, Hermann noticed Talion approaching. Hello, he greeted. Talion looked at Dud, puzzled. Why does Dud's teacher look like he's suffering? He wondered. Could Hermann be bothering him? Meanwhile, Dud was still deep in thought. If Gideon is alive, the scenario I know could change without limits. I should try my best to avoid him, but if I do run into him, I have to get something out of it. Otherwise, I don't think I'll be able to handle the Chapter 2 boss. He looked up and saw Talion standing next to Hermann. Dud asked, What are you doing with my butler, Talion? Talion looked surprised. He's your butler? Dud nodded, then said with a smirk, Since you touched my butler, I'm going to borrow your sword for a day. Without hesitation, Talion handed over his sword. It would be an honor, he replied. I'll return it later, Dud said casually. The scene shifted to later that day. Dud was with Elnor, who raised an eyebrow and said, You applied to the Divine Department, and now you're asking me to teach you swordsmanship? Dud nodded. I learned something from the last demon incident. My divine power alone leaves me weak in close combat. I want to learn the basics of Tristan's swordsmanship. Thanks to the villain affinity gift, Dud thought, Elnor will keep getting tied to me anyway. Elnor smiled slightly. This is the first time you've said something I actually like. A productive request from a junior. I suppose I can help a little. Excited, she unsheathed her sword. This is my chance, Dud thought. If I can copy as much of her swordsmanship as possible, it might help me deal with Gideon later. Swordsmanship seems like the only peaceful way to approach him. At that moment, Elia appeared. Well, this is a rare sight. The busy student council president giving a private lesson in the training field. Elnor replied. Dud asked me. Really? Elia said, glancing at him. But you specialize in one-handed swords, right? Dud would use a two-handed one. It's fine, Dud replied. One-handed or two, it doesn't matter. Elnor stepped closer and added, the type of sword doesn't matter. What matters is who teaches you. With a playful smile, Elia responded, exactly why I think it would be better if I taught Dud. I used to be an instructor, you know. Wouldn't that be better? Dud began to grow nervous, sensing the tension between the two. Elnor narrowed her eyes. Are you saying your swordsmanship is better than mine? Of course not. Elia laughed. How could I possibly beat the student council president? But I do know a few openings in Tristan's swordsmanship. Oh, Elnor said sharply. Then why don't you show me those openings? I will, Elia replied. On one condition, no using force. With that, the two girls took their positions, swords drawn and eyes locked. The duel was set, not for victory, but to determine who would be the one to teach Dud. Elia tells Elnor that she must fight without relying on the Tristan family's strength. Elnor responds calmly, saying she wouldn't mind seeing things escalate to that point. From the side, an exasperated Dud shouts that Elnor had promised to teach him. So why are she and Elia fighting instead? Wasting no time, Elia charges forward and strikes at Elnor, shouting for her to teach her a move. Elnor responds coolly, noting that Elia's movements are too large. With ease, Elnor blocks the incoming strike with her sword and counters using a refined sword technique, unleashing a flurry of blows. Though surprised, Elia manages to block the attacks, but she is steadily pushed back. As she defends, Elia realizes Elnor's strikes are incredibly fast, not weak by any means. While continuing to block, Elia questions herself. What am I doing? I can't lose to a devil. With a surge of resolve, Elia lunges forward with a powerful counterattack that catches Elnor off guard and pushes her back. At the same time, Elia thinks to herself that although Elnor may carry the blood of a devil, one day she will inevitably be consumed by it and go berserk, whether she wants to or not. Angered by the thought, Elia channels her mana into a technique called Guardian Strike and directs it through her sword. Elnor meets the attack head-on, successfully blocking the strike. However, the deflected energy surges off course, straight toward Dud. Shocked, Dud freezes, but Elnor immediately reacts, rushing to shield him. She intercepts the attack effortlessly. It's hard to control these things called emotions, Elnor says quietly. Watching her, Dud marvels. Is this really a human's reaction speed? Elnor seemed even faster and stronger than before. He begins to wonder. Has she already started merging with the fragment? Elia quickly apologizes, admitting that she went too far. Elnor nods and responds that while Elia's swordsmanship is respectable, a hero candidate must train more than just her sword arm, because allies getting hurt is unacceptable. Elia agrees and apologizes once more. Elnor then looks around, surprised to find Dud gone. Only his butler, Hermann, remains. The scene shifts to a quiet forest, where Dud stands near a secluded house, wearing a mask. Deep in thought, he reflects on Elnor's condition. I can't just sit around anymore. If I slack off, I'll never improve. He knows he's not destined to become a pure swordsman. Holy power is essential for survival. He must grow in both swordsmanship and divine power. Later, we see Dud meeting Yuria, the saint's true younger sister. He greets her, noting that she looks healthy. But Yuria wastes no time. She immediately draws her sword and strikes at Dud. Dud smiles to himself. Now it's Yuria's turn to help me. The scene shifts to a memory. A voice speaks to Yuria, asking, Are you hoping someone will save you? Hoping someone will be your friend? That kind of hope will only bring you more pain. The figure continues, telling her that she needs to realize it quickly. Hope is nothing more than a prelude to despair. He insists that Yuria should accept the truth, just as her sister did. Yuria's eyes widen in fear and worry. The man goes on, his tone cold. You are nothing more than a cursed sacrifice. You must remain alone until the day you die. That is the only way to protect everyone. It is your duty. Suddenly, Yuria wakes up. It was just a dream. The scene shifts to a tranquil forest. Yuria is picking apples from a tree. As she bites into one, Dud appears to meet her. Without hesitation, Yuria lunges and swings at him. Dud reacts swiftly, drawing his sword and blocking the strike. Surprised, Yuria asks sharply, "Why did you step into my attack range? You know how dangerous that is." Without giving him time to respond, she launches another attack. Dud dodges her strikes with precision. In her mind, Yuria thinks he should step back. He could get hurt. The duel continues. Yuria swings her blade in a wide arc, and it comes from behind to strike at Dud. He notices just in time and evades the blow. Breathing heavily, Dud eventually falls to the ground, exhausted. "Judging by how you're swinging that sword," Dud says with a tired smile, "you must be in good health." Yuria blinks in confusion. Dud then continues, "You haven't forgotten me, right? I know I didn't really know what you liked, so I brought a bit of everything. It should be enough for 2 or 3 days." He looks at her gently. "Don't you get lonely staying away from everyone? If I dropped by now and then to keep you company, you wouldn't mind, would you?" Yuria stands still, stunned. As Dud turns to leave, he adds, "Make sure you eat well." He walks away, leaving the food behind. Yuria slowly picks it up and goes inside the house. She stares at the bread, then clutches it tightly. Tears begin to fall as she thinks to herself, "It doesn't hurt." The scene shifts to Dud's room, where he receives a system notification, "Fatal Charm activated. Villain affinity greatly increased. Yuria's affection level 1 has been achieved. Reward available." Dud is surprised. He had only spent a few days with Yuria, yet her affection level had already reached 1. Curious, he checks the reward. His reaction speed and precision during battle have increased. "Not bad," Dud mutters. "If I combine this with desperate struggle, it'll be really effective." He then glances at Hermann, who is still fast asleep. Why is he so relaxed? Dud wonders. Today is observation day. Parents, nobles, royals, and even high-ranking merchants are expected to attend. And father trained hard with Yuria for this. Dud nudges Hermann and calls out, "Wake up, or we'll be late." As Hermann stirs, Dud prepares himself. "Today, I only need to impress one person, Gideon Lutristan, a swordsmanship genius who never appeared in the original work." The scene transitions to the ceremony hall. Parents and honored guests have already arrived. The nobles gathered whisper among themselves about the unexpected presence of delegates from the Holy Kingdom this year. An announcement echoes through the hall, welcoming the parents and esteemed guests who've traveled far. The speaker proudly introduces Elfani Academy as the Empire's top educational institution and thanks everyone for attending the observation class. The traditional welcoming event, the Battle Royale, is about to begin. Suddenly, murmurs spread throughout the hall. Gideon Lutristan has arrived. His presence shocks everyone. He never attends public events, not even his daughter's entrance ceremony. Known as a cold and aloof swordsman obsessed only with training, Gideon is feared and respected. Most people avoid even speaking to him. Professor Baltador approaches him, smiling. "What brings you here, Gideon?" Gideon replies dryly, "Aren't you tired of teaching children?" "Not at all," Baltador chuckles. "Still, what brings you here today?" With a sigh, Gideon answers, "Just out for some fresh air during training." Baltador grins. "So, how's your quest to surpass the first Duke Tristan going?" "I'm following the text exactly as it says," Gideon responds. "It said, 'Make the great mountain your own.'" "That sounds complicated," Baltador remarks. "How's it going so far?" "First, I bring down the mountain," Gideon replies flatly. Baltador laughs. "That's an insanely primitive approach." Just then, the announcer calls for everyone's attention. The Battle Royale is about to begin. All participants are volunteer freshmen, and the match will be conducted under the supervision of expert professors and medical staff. Baltador turns to Gideon and says, "You should watch this. This year's freshmen are quite promising." The announcer continues, explaining that each student's preferred weapon has been prepared in wood. He then calls for all contestants to enter the arena. As the students step onto the stage, the focus shifts to Dud. Now that he's actually out there, nerves begin to set in. He starts to regret participating and wonders, "Do I really need Gideon's attention this badly?" Nearby, Talion says, "It's just you and me for the final showdown. Elnor is out as a hero candidate, so it's not impossible." The announcer instructs the contestants to collect their weapons. Elia, observing from the side, thinks to herself, why did Dud even bother entering this match? Once everyone has their weapons, the announcer gives the signal. All contestants step onto the stage. There is only one goal: be the last one standing. The winner will receive bonus points, and the top 10 will also be rewarded. From the stands, Herman shouts, just make it to the top 10, Dud. Meanwhile, Dud scans the audience, thinking, Gideon must be watching from somewhere. I have to stand out. Unbeknownst to him, Elia watches closely, thinking, Dud, I trust you. But if anything happens, I'll step in. The announcer begins the match, and chaos erupts as everyone rushes into battle. Talion charges directly at Dud. Confused, Dud doesn't understand why Talion is targeting him so soon. But he quickly activates his technique and parries the strike. So this is what a perfect parry feels like, Dud thinks, smiling as he blocks Talion's attack. From the audience, Gideon watches intently. At that moment, a young woman suddenly appears from behind and lands a clean kick on Dud. Caught off guard, he falls forward, right on Talion. As Dud looks up, he recognizes her, Riru Garda, the second daughter of the Grand Chief of the Tribal Union, a powerful character who makes her appearance in Chapter 5. Meanwhile, Elia and Elnor watch in surprise, wondering who the girl is. Riru looks at Dud and says, if you won't come forward, then I will. Dud recognizes her technique and thinks to himself, body arts, that's the physical enhancement method used by the Tribal Union. Even with desperate struggle, he couldn't guarantee victory against her. Right now, Riru is probably even stronger than Elnor. As Dud gets up, Talion thanks him for shielding him. Tears well up in Talion's eyes as he recalls how Dud protected even an opponent during their fight. Dud steadies himself, preparing to face Riru. Why is she even participating in this event? He wonders, is this before her identity becomes widely known? Talion steps forward as well. I'll do my best to help you take first place, he says earnestly. Dud responds, you should take this chance to run. Ignoring the suggestion, Talion turns to Riru. If you want to face Dud, you'll have to get through me first. He introduces himself and challenges her. Can you handle me? Riru simply nods. Then I won't hold back. In an instant, she closes the distance, appearing right in front of Talion. Before he can react, she lands a solid strike. Talion is unable to block it and is taken out. Several other students fall in the aftermath as well. Meanwhile, Dud activates his new skill and narrowly manages to parry her next strike, though the shockwave still hits him directly. Seeing him still standing, Riru narrows her eyes. I thought you were just some nobody, but it looks like you've been holding back too. Dud is equally surprised. His new skill had actually worked. Wasting no time, Riru charges at Dud and strikes with a kick, but Dud manages to block it. She then follows up with a flurry of punches. Although Dud blocks most of them, he realizes now is not the time for pointless bravado. Still, he knows that even at full power, he won't be able to defeat Riru. With resolve, Dud drops his sword and forfeits the match. The audience gasps. Riru is stunned. The crowd erupts in boos, calling Dud a coward as he calmly exits the arena. Why are they booing? Dud wonders, confused. The announcer addresses the crowd, stating that the match will continue as there are still participants left. Frustrated, Riru yells, things were just getting interesting. What are you doing, Dud? At that moment, a system window appears. Fatal charm activated. A seed of explosive affection has been planted. Seeing this, Dud sighs. It's probably a good thing I ran. But still, can't I even forfeit in peace? Suddenly, a cloth bag is thrown over his head, and he's dragged away. The scene shifts to a quiet room. The bag is removed. Dud now sits face to face with Gideon Lutristan. Gideon's voice is cold and direct. What is your relationship with my daughter, Elnor? Shocked to see him in person, Dud replies cautiously. She's been a great help with school life, sir. We're just friends. Did you learn swordsmanship from her? Gideon presses. Dud thinks quickly. Stay calm. Stick to the plan. No, sir, he answers. Then where did you learn the Tristan swordsmanship? Gideon asks sharply. Dud pauses. You recognized it? Of course I did. It was the absolute basics of our family's technique, Gideon replies. So he even recognized the deflection technique. Dud thinks nervously. Answer the question, Gideon demands. Where did you learn it? Don't show any signs of hesitation, Dud tells himself. The man in front of me is like a living blade. If I show an opening, all my plans could fall apart. With a deep breath, Dud replies, from someone you know, the Sword Emperor. He continues, he's always been elusive. But even someone like him once visited a remote baron's house, mine. Please believe me, Dud silently pleads. Gideon raises an eyebrow. So you're saying my master personally taught you? That's an amusing lie. Go on, he adds. The best place to hide a tree is in a forest, Dud thinks. It's true. The Sword Emperor gave me a personal request. That last part was a small lie, but one that must be protected with an even bigger one. A request? For you of all people. Gideon scoffs. Yes, Dud nods. To be precise, he gave me a mission. Then, facing Gideon directly, Dud says with a calm, steady voice, please allow me to teach you swordsmanship, Duke Gideon. Upon hearing Dud's claim, Gideon narrows his eyes. So you're saying I should learn swordsmanship from you, and that my own master asked you to do this? Dud nods. That's correct. Gideon's expression hardens. That's quite a claim. Can you take responsibility for it? Dud responds confidently, I can. But internally, his thoughts are far less certain. I don't know if I really can. I'm just trusting the power of the original story. This is literally my first time meeting Gideon. Out of all the players, I'm the first to encounter him. Elnor's father, the Empire's sword. He talks little, but that skill of his. I can't even begin to guess how powerful he is. Dud notices Gideon silently evaluating him. I don't blame him. From his perspective, I've just barged in, spouting nonsense. Honestly, I'd be skeptical too. He winces inwardly. But this kind of awkward silence is the worst. Suddenly, Gideon raises a finger and moves it in the air. Dud blinks, confused. You're not going to stop it? Gideon asks flatly. Without warning, Gideon activates his special skill. The table next to Dud shatters into splinters. Dud stares in shock. The formless sword, Dud realizes. A technique that allows one to cut without even wielding a blade. Before Dud can process it fully, Gideon uses the skill again. Another table crumbles. Calmly, Gideon says, you would be dead now. Tell me, against someone who can do this, someone you can't even react to, what could I possibly learn from you? Dud clenches his fists. So this really is the Empire's strongest sword technique. The one said to have slain a dragon. But something isn't right. It's incredible, Dud admits. Just like the rumors say. However, if the technique were truly complete, there wouldn't be any visible movement at all. Am I wrong? Gideon's eyes narrow, surprised. How do you know that? Because I know everything, Dud thinks. The journal found after Gideon's death in the original story, it described everything. How he grew stronger, the teachings of his master, the weight of his family's legacy. Dud continues aloud. I also heard of your ultimate goal, and the Sword Emperor's. To break your family's curse, because there is something you must bear. At that moment, a memory flickers. A young Gideon, standing before the Sword Emperor, is told, you'd be better off taking down the mountain. The vision fades. Dud looks directly at him. Rotational force is the key. When the image of your sword forms, the line must be drawn perfectly. Use rotation. Try hitting a bit harder. Gideon closes his eyes. He takes a breath, then swings, and this time, it's perfect. Meanwhile, Dud watches, thinking, honestly, I have no idea what any of that meant. I just remember Gideon wrote it in his journal, advice from his future self to his present one. The rest is up to him. Having executed the technique flawlessly, Gideon opens his eyes and turns to Dud. Who are you really? Dud smiles. Just someone who wants to see Sir Gideon become stronger. The scene shifts to Dud's room. Now Gideon won't die, Dud thinks. And Elnor won't fall into darkness. I finally got what I needed, the letter of indemnity. A rare and powerful document. The Tristan family's privilege exempts the bearer from legal punishment. A handwritten promise from Gideon himself. As the Empire's executioner, Gideon is responsible for eliminating threats from the shadows. But now, this indemnity will become vital in Chapter 2. A notification window appears. Fatal charm activated. As more villains like Dud appear, Dud's gift strengthens. It can be upgraded? Dud wonders. Another window opens. Gift upgrade. The more villains acknowledge Dud, the more varied the rewards become. Guidance acquired. Gideon. Dud raises an eyebrow. Guidance. What kind of skill is that? Another message appears. Guidance. When a villain's ability blooms, Dud gains access to that same ability temporarily. Dud grins. Perfect timing. This is exactly what I need to move forward. Closing his notebook, Dud mutters, this should be enough for the next phase. It won't be easy, but I told Gideon I'd take responsibility. He exhales slowly. For Gideon. For the Tristan family. No matter what happens, I'll protect them. The scene shifts to a classroom where the teacher explains to the students that every human inherently possesses divine power. Unlike magic, this power can be used by anyone without the need to be chosen. However, truly manifesting divine power is an entirely different challenge. Few ever reach that stage. As the lecture continues, the teacher notices a student sleeping. Irritated, he silently remarks to himself that the same student is dozing off again. His attention drifts to the growing number of empty seats in the classroom, a situation he blames entirely on Marquis Riverback. Inwardly, he admits he doesn't care if Riverback brings monsters or zombies into the school, but a devil worshipper is crossing the line. On top of that, he isn't fond of this semester's students, who seem to question everything. None of them realize that he is secretly working with Marquis Riverback. The teacher tells himself that he just needs to hold on a little longer before quitting altogether. At that moment, a student raises his hand and asks how one trains divine power. It is Dud. The teacher answers curtly, stating that divine power, like anything else, improves with use, and that if Dud keeps using it, his proficiency will naturally increase. Then, with an annoyed tone, he questions whether that even counts as a proper question. Dud calmly replies that asking questions is important, isn't it? Irritated by this exchange, the teacher abruptly ends the class for the day. Later, in the teacher's office, he sits alone, still frustrated by Dud's earlier question. Opening his desk drawer, he notices several documents marked as classified. He thinks to himself that he could take these, find a new job elsewhere, and never deal with these arrogant students again. Perhaps he will even leave the empire entirely. Just then, a knock sounds at the door. Annoyed, he calls out for the student to wait and walks over to open it. In his mind, he thinks that since he's leaving the academy anyway, he might as well act like a professor one last time. Before he can finish opening the door, it bursts open, knocking him back to the floor. Angered, he demands to know if the student has lost his mind, kicking open a professor's office door like that. Standing in the doorway is Eleanor, who calmly replies that she knocked first. Without hesitation, she steps inside and restrains the teacher. Confused, he asks what is going on, only to notice Dud entering behind her. Dud asks if the teacher is truly an instructor from the Divine Department. Outraged, the teacher yells that Dud is speaking nonsense and accuses him of pulling a prank on a professor. Dud, smiling, responds that this is no prank. He and Eleanor are here to arrest him. Shocked, the teacher demands to know what he has supposedly done wrong and who gave them such authority. Dud explains that they know he is a spy. The teacher's eyes widen. Eleanor steps forward and says they have already reported him to the dean for aiding in the beast escape incident. She angrily questions how a professor could willingly endanger students of the Empire, concluding that he was never here to teach in the first place. She then adds that she has found letters exchanged between him and Marquis Riverback. The teacher scoffs, claiming this is absurd. What could Riverback possibly have to do with a priest like him? He insists that he was merely being friendly and that he is a victim in all of this. Dud cuts him off, telling him to stop with the lies. Time is short. He demands that the teacher reveal the names of any other spies in the academy. The teacher begins to smile faintly, offering no answer. Without hesitation, Eleanor punches him. After just one blow, he confesses that Barrymore from the security department and Anne from the nutrition department are also spies. Dud then surprises him by using divine power to heal his injuries. The teacher, startled, stares in disbelief at Dud's ability. Dud recalls the teacher's earlier statement that one must use divine energy frequently to gain proficiency, and explains that he applies it whenever he gets the chance. As he turns to leave, the surprised teacher asks where he is going. Dud responds that he suspects the teacher would not give up so easily after naming only a few accomplices. At that moment, Eleanor suggests they check the teacher's desk, confident that something important will turn up. Hearing this, the teacher casts a spell to free himself, but it's already too late. Dud has retrieved several documents from the drawer. As he scans them, Dud is startled to discover that their teacher is not only part of the Divine Department, but also affiliated with the Empire's military organization. The teacher lunges forward, shoving Dud aside in an attempt to snatch the papers back. Before he can succeed, Elnor steps in and strikes him with a precise blow, sending him crashing against the wall. Smiling, Dud asks if this is everything. After gathering all the documents, Elnor confirms it appears to be all they need and asks if they should hand the professor over to the Academy Knights. Dud, however, tells her to wait. He is still a novice and would like to learn more about divine power before they part ways. Observing him, the teacher realizes why he has never been able to like Dud. He resembles someone the teacher knew before meeting Marquis Riverback. We then see Dud doing his best to learn divine techniques from the professor. Moments later, the scene shifts. Elnor remarks that she does not usually like teaching others a lesson, but before she can elaborate, a notification appears, stating that her madness has been lifted. Elnor then turns to Dud and asks if there is anything he would like to tell her. He replies that he doesn't think so. She pauses before revealing that she heard he recently met with her father and pointedly asks why he did so. Shocked, Dud responds, "Me? What?" Elnor calmly replies that this isn't what she's asking. Dud admits that it's true. He did meet with her father, but insists he never shared this information with anyone else. Curious, Elnor presses him, asking what exactly he means by that. Internally, Dud is caught off guard. This is an entirely unexpected turn of events, and he quickly tries to think of a suitable explanation. Before he can speak, Elnor explains that she simply wanted to know if he was hurt or if anything bad had happened during that meeting. Relieved, Dud explains that during their last match, he used the sword technique Elnor had taught him. Her father was curious about his skills and called him over, nothing more. Elnor raises an eyebrow, remarking that the Duke of Tristan, her father, summoned him purely out of curiosity. Dud adds that the move he learned from her came out particularly well, and since few people practice the Tristan-style swordsmanship, it must have caught the Duke's attention. Elnor tells him to do as he wishes. Her father is not the type to spend his time teaching swordsmanship to a rookie, but it's not her place to interfere either. Dud then says he believes they'll be seeing her father again in the future. After all, the Duke is her family, and Dud feels responsible for protecting her. Elnor looks momentarily surprised at his words, while Dud internally admits that the statement might have sounded a little too sudden. With a faint smile, Elnor asks if he has noticed that he's been addressing her more casually lately. Dud appears confused. She tells him that before he talks about protecting her, he should first learn proper manners, and start by calling her President. The scene shifts to Dud's room, where his butler, Hermann, is shocked to hear he spent time with Lady Tristan again. The Baron, Dud's father, has instructed him to keep a low profile. Dud remarks that he only has 3 friends at the academy, and one of them happens to be Lady Tristan. In fact, he admits, he wouldn't even call them close friends. He then teases Hermann for standing out too much for a butler and asks where he got the ice cream he's holding. Hermann explains that students were handing them out for free as midterm support. Hearing this, Dud remembers that it's midterm survival season. Suddenly, a notification appears. Soul Linker Fragment Fusion. If divine power is sufficient, the spirit's consciousness can be awakened. Intrigued, Dud orders Hermann to go collect more ice cream. Without hesitation, Hermann leaves the room, and Dud wonders if his butler is truly a butler at all. Turning his attention back to the notification, Dud realizes he now has enough divine power to awaken the ghost in Gregory Hall, thanks to healing the priest earlier. Awakening a ghost summons a great soul that can aid the user's growth, but it's random. There's no telling who will appear. If the summoned soul is incompatible, it could be a wasted opportunity. Despite the risk, Dud activates the fusion. A card appears, marked only with a question mark. The scene then shifts to an arena where a lone knight stands. Dud, puzzled, tries to recall who it might be, perhaps the spear user Frederick or the tanker Johann. The figure seems familiar, though Dud can't quite place him. At the very least, the swordsman doesn't look hostile, which is already a good sign. Finally, the identity is revealed. It is the Guardian of Dawn, Caliban Chrysanax. Dud is shocked to realize that the spirit standing before him is none other than Elia's older brother. The scene shifts to a memory, a time when the Crimson Devil's vessel brought about the Red Knight disaster. The flames raged endlessly until the Imperial Guard's guardian struck him down. Among them was Guardian Caliban, who sacrificed his life to stop the Red Knight. His heroic act turned him into a spirit, Yet his death was another tragedy for Elia's family. That was the day she lost everyone she loved. Determined to follow in her brother's footsteps, Elia vowed to destroy the demon responsible for making her an orphan. On that day, she declared she would become a hero. Returning to the present, all the students are gathered in the forest. The teacher announces that the midterm exams will be conducted fairly, with each team consisting of 4 members. He poses a question: who are the main enemies of the Empire? A student answers: magical beasts and devil worshippers. The teacher nods, confirming it's correct. He explains that Elfani Academy was established to combat these threats, and that combat skills and survival ability will be the main grading criteria for the midterms. Meanwhile, Dud turns to the spirit Caliban and asks how he feels, noting that Caliban's sister is doing well. Caliban is surprised to see Elia, now a hero candidate of the Empire. Dud confirms it's official. Caliban reflects that his little sister used to be nothing more than a noisy child, while Dud responds that she's now an adult. Caliban admits it was worth it, though seeing her grown up after returning as a spirit is something he's still getting used to. Dud reminds him that he was the one who brought Caliban back. Caliban then asks if Dud wants his cooperation. Dud confirms and asks if he can count on him. Caliban agrees, but requests that Dud not tell Elia about him. Dud accepts and thanks him. With a faint smile, Caliban remarks that he has the instincts of someone who has died, and that Dud might understand laws he himself does not. Still, Dud seems like a good man to him. He tells Dud to keep watching over Elia, as he's counting on him. Dud replies that his current goal is to ensure no one dies. Later, in the forest, Dud approaches Elia and says it's about the midterms. If she hasn't joined a group yet, would she like to team up with him? Elia is taken aback by the unexpected request. Elia looks at Dud and asks if he truly wants to team up with her. Dud answers without hesitation, yes. But Elia reminds him that the last time they spoke, he said they weren't that close. Dud admits he was wrong and apologizes, adding that he's asking now because he genuinely needs her help. Even so, Elia still appears hesitant. Before she can respond, one of her friends steps forward, urging her to join Dud's team. He points out that Elia has been studying day and night just to defeat him anyway. This remark frustrates Elia, who turns to glare at her friend. Dud calmly says that in that case, he'll take Elia with him. Composing herself, Elia turns back to Dud and says they should use this opportunity to interact and grow stronger. Dud asks if she's fine with being apart from her friends. Elia assures him they'll be fine. Each of them is highly skilled. She adds that it's been a while since she's done a duo match with the teacher. Dud corrects her, saying they're forming a full team and will need at least one more member. The scene shifts to the dean's office. She is on a magic call with someone who thanks her for granting permission so generously. The dean replies that it was no trouble at all, though she admits it's curious that the saint herself is coming here with a guard knight. She says she doesn't understand what head priest Credo is thinking. The caller explains that Lucian cannot remain sheltered forever, so this regular mission is an opportunity for her to take things step by step. Even a saint must learn about the world. The dean reflects privately that while Lucian is a saint, her own investigation suggests Lucian is also a candidate for the vessel of the devil. The dean has been working behind the scenes to bring her to Elfanti, beginning by taking her twin sister, Uria. But now, Credo is sending the saint here directly. When the dean asks why, Credo replies that Lucian is a symbolic figure for both the Empire and the Holy Kingdom, and that this decision was not made lightly. The dean questions whether it's because of the recent monster incident. Credo agrees, but also mentions the revelation that an Elfani priest was a spy. The dean points out that such an unstable situation might be dangerous for the saint. In her mind, she suspects it's a trap, but one she should probably take. Credo responds that if Lucian is truly the saint of the Empire, she must have the courage to face evil where it arises. On the contrary, he wants Elfanti to give her a mission during the midterms so she can assist in student training. When the dean asks what exactly he means, Credo says he will explain later, only that it's all for eradicating the evil within Elfanti. The dean remarks that he's mocking her. Credo simply smiles. She then asks whether she can refuse whatever he intends for Lucian. Credo replies that if the saint volunteers, the situation changes, and he's certain she'll be helpful. With that, he ends the call. Afterward, the dean feels a wave of frustration. She admits to herself that Credo is clever and that she never expected to meet the saint so easily. The condition, however, is to follow every imperial order. She recalls telling Dud once that the Empire pushes others toward its goals, and that she is no different. The scene shifts to a quiet forest. Yuria sits alone, wondering why Dud hasn't come. It's already been days, and he usually appears around this time. She recalls their training sessions and thinks to herself that he doesn't have to bring her food every time. His presence alone is enough. But then her thoughts darken. She remembers Priest Credo's words, calling her the outcast of Elfanti, who betrayed the Holy Kingdom. She recalls him telling her she will always be alone in this forest. Her breathing becomes unsteady, and tears begin to form. At that moment, Dud appears, wearing his mask. Concerned, he asks why she's crying and whether something happened while he was away. He apologizes for not bringing her favorite cookie flavor, explaining that the store had run out. Yuria's tears fade into a soft smile. The sight of Dud is enough to lift her mood instantly.